breaking news into the Fanfare news feed.
Today, I'm thrilled to announce my plan to lower healthcare prices for all Americans and truly make healthcare affordable again. We're doing things that nobody's ever been able to do. We're calling it the Great Healthcare Plan. Instead of putting the needs of big corporations and special interests first, our plan finally puts you first and puts more money in your pocket. The government is going to pay the money directly to you. It goes to you, and then you take the money and buy your own health care. Nobody's ever heard of that before, and that's the way it is. The big insurance companies lose, and the people of our country win. This proposal locks in the massive discounts on prescription drugs that my administration is achieving through our most favored nation drug pricing agreement. Now, when you hear about that, for 40 years they've been trying to do it, but they never were able to do it. No other president was able to do it. I got every other country to approve it by the use of tariffs and other things. They all approved it. Nobody else got it. No other president got it. And for the most part, they didn't even try because they felt it was impossible. It'll bring down drug prices 80, 90%, in some cases, just numbers that nobody's ever heard of before. Your prescription drugs will come way, way down. And under this policy, the prices of many drugs will be slashed by 300, 400, and even 500% starting this month at the TrumpRx.gov. So instead of Americans paying the highest drug prices in the world, which we have for decades, we will now be paying the lowest cost paid by any other nation. So any other nation that's paying the lowest cost, that's what we're going to pay. And the American people will get the savings. So I have to reiterate, the lowest price in the world is what you're going to pay. Before, you were paying the highest price in the world by far, and the politicians did nothing about it. So I'm asking Congress to complete the work that we've started. Next, my plan would reduce your insurance premiums by stopping government payoffs to big insurance companies and sending that money directly to the people. Obamacare was designed to make insurance companies rich. I call it the Unaffordable Care Act, with billions of dollars in taxpayer subsidies that helped their stock prices skyrocket over 1,700% as you paid more money for health care every single year, more and more. The premiums went higher and higher. I want to end this flagrant scam and put extra money straight into the healthcare savings account in your name, and you go out and buy your own healthcare, and you'll make a great deal. You get better healthcare for less money. That way you can choose the care that is right for your family. To further reduce insurance premiums, my plan ends the giant kickbacks to insurance brokers and corporate middlemen that only drive up the costs, and that's what they're intended to do, drive up the cost. But we're driving down the costs. And it fully funds a long neglected part of the law known as the Cost Sharing Reduction Program. This measure alone should cut premiums on the most popular Obamacare plans. It's hard to believe there are any because it's a hated program. It's unaffordable, but it's going to cut them by an average of 10 to 15%. Next, the Great Healthcare Plan. That's the name. It's called the Great Healthcare because it's great healthcare at a lower price. Mandates unprecedented accountability and transparency from insurance companies and all healthcare providers so that special interests can no longer profiteer at your expense. As the saying goes, sunlight is the best disinfectant. That is why my plan orders all insurance companies to publish rate and coverage comparisons in very plain English. It requires insurers to publish detailed information about how much of your money they're going to be paying out in claims versus how much they're taking in profits. In other words, you will be able to watch the scam. It forces them to release detailed data on how many claims are being denied and whether those denials are eventually overturned on appeal. And most importantly, it will require any hospital or insurer who accepts Medicare or Medicaid to prominently post all prices at their place of business so that you are never surprised and you can easily shop for a better deal or better care. And you're going to end up doing both. You're going to get a better deal and better care. we will have maximum price transparency and costs will come down incredibly. I'm calling on Congress to pass this framework into law without delay. Have to do it right now so that we can get immediate relief to the American people, the people I love. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. Once you put together these shows, and I said I wanted to have some breaking news at the beginning of each show, if I can do that, and sure enough, everybody's talking about Minnesota, everybody's talking about the Insurrection Act, and then lo and behold, President Trump comes out and drops something called the Great Healthcare Plan. I'm going to take a couple minutes. I'm going to explain to you what that is. We're going to get that done before we get Karoline Leavitt on. But first, let me just tell you about today's sponsor of today's show. Today's sponsor is Primal, My Primal. Do you struggle with tingling, numbness, or painful sensations in your feet or your hands? There's new research showing that a tiny, tiny seed may hold the key to lasting relief. It's backed by 33 years of clinical studies. Doctors have found this seed helps restore healthy nerve function. It's relieving pain, it's relieving numbness, and it's relieving tingling while also supporting balanced blood sugar levels. I know some people might be teetering on the whole diabetic thing. Me personally, I'm not diabetic, but they told me, hey, listen, you're getting a little bit older. You got to cut out the blueberry muffins. And I wanted to kill the doctor, but I had to get rid of the blueberry muffins. For years, this natural breakthrough was buried by Big Pharma. So this coincides with what President Trump just said. It was hidden away to protect their profits. But now a maverick doctor has rediscovered its power, and he's making it available to the public. Imagine what it would feel like to finally walk without pain, sleep without burning or tingling in your feet at night, and get back to the comfort you thought you'd lost. To see exactly how this works, just scan the QR code on your screen or go to myprimal.life/Barry. Don't wait. Find out how this tiny seed could help switch off nerve pain starting as soon as today. Just go ahead and do it. Go to myprimal.life/Barry, and you can check it out. So let's get the show started here, shall we? I'm all about that. Let's go ahead and do that. Click the button. Bada bang.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so I'm pretty sure President Trump is going to have a lot to talk. Well, actually, Karoline Leavitt is going to want to talk about this new health care plan. And of course, the media is going to want to do nothing but talk about Minnesota and the other thing that's on everybody's mind, the Insurrection Act. But before we get to the press conference and start talking about the Insurrection Act, but you got a whole bunch of stuff to show you, let me go over this plan here so you guys can get an idea, and I'll show you how you can find out about it. Let's take a look at it. Here we go. This is called the Great Health Care Plan that President Trump is putting out there. And it says the Great Health Care Plan, as you can see, it lowers drug prices. I'm not going to read all this because it's a whole lot to read. And as you can see, it's kind of tiny print, but you should go check it out. Lower the drug prices, lower insurance premiums. What's a hold big insurance companies accountable, maximize price transparency. I think why President Trump put this out is because they kept saying over and over, they just walked into it, that he didn't have a plan, that he did. The plan's sitting right there. It is summarized so anybody can actually see it. Anybody can actually read it. It's at whitehouse.gov. You can find it, the Great Healthcare Plan. I'm sure if you search it, it will pop up. Lower drug prices, low insurance premiums. You'll be able to see in real time how big insurance companies are scamming you, which is huge, and maximize price transparency and allow you to buy from the cheapest place so that you're not stuck with one, Walgreens or versus CVS versus Reed versus Trump RX, Good RX. You can choose who you want to fulfill your drugs. Perfect. That's what we all needed. Find out whether you're on Medicaid or Medicare. If you have a private insurance company policy, you're going to be able to look at that as well. All of this information, again, to me, I look at this and I'm like, the panicans and the black pillars and the idiots out there need to shut up. These things are going to be revealed on his calendar, not mine, not yours, when he wants to reveal it. Why did he want to reveal it today? I don't know. But obviously on January 15th, he decided he wanted to show everybody the Great Healthcare Plan. And so now prudent people would begin reading and understanding what this plan is going to mean for them and compare it to the plan you're on and compare it to the prices that you're paying for your prescriptions. I love it. Choice, being able to decide how you want to get your insurance, how much you're going to pay for your drugs and prescriptions, and actually put that back into the pockets of the people. Now, of course, the Democrats are going to have a problem with it. The Democrats don't like autonomy. The Democrats don't want you making any decisions with your own money. As you've seen, they want to control it. Well, the poor peoples, let them stay on Medicare. Why do you care what we decide to do with our money, with our health care? For some reason, they all want us in the same, I don't know, what did Mandami call it? The same collective. You can screw your collective. I'm done with that. I am so happy he's doing what he's doing. And every day I wake up and there's some more breaking news, and I say to myself, this is crazy how fast he's doing things. All right, so let's segue very quickly into the Insurrection Act. By now, you probably know. By now, you've probably heard. Let me go ahead and show it to you. This is what we've been waiting for. President Trump posted this at 8:04 a.m. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act. Period. Comply, do what you're supposed to, keep my guys safe, or we're going to go there. That's what you got to do. You got to show at this point you are at the beholden to President Trump to make sure I don't see any more of the stuff I saw last night. More than likely, the decision's already been made. Can we talk privately here? Hold on a second. Can we come on in? You realize the decision has already been made. This is just to let him know what's coming. because in order to do the Insurrection Act, they're going to have to move soldiers and get everybody in place. And it's basically buying time, because you and I both know they can't control these nuts. You and I both know that once the sun goes down tonight, they're going to be right back out there. Tim Walz and Jacob Frey are not in charge. And so this message is for somebody else. Once again, I'm letting you know, if I see this crap anymore, what's coming. And so President Trump is letting know in no uncertain terms, I will do it. I'm going to do it, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to this travesty that has taken place in that once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, many people have argued, posted, and said that in order for the Insurrection Act to actually take place, there has to be a public declaration. Doesn't have to be a hear ye press conference. Doesn't have to, just a declaration that I'm doing it. I don't know if that suffices, but he pretty much just said, if you don't do this and do that, I'm going to do it. Will that be is that the declaration to let them know it's coming? Because we all know how Jacob Frey and Tim Walz are asked, how they're acting. I think message in some regard, we saw some craziness last night, which I'm going to show you, but immediately thereafter, or shortly thereafter, let me check the timestamp on this. I want you to see this wasn't immediate, but Tim Walz decided he's going to respond. His time of response was 11:08 a.m., 3 hours after President Trump dropped the notice. And all of a sudden, he comes out with, can we all get along now? I am making a direct appeal to the president. No, you posted that to the world. If you wanted to be a man and have a direct appeal to the president, you call him. But anyway, I am making a direct appeal to the president. Let's turn the temperature down. Do it. Just go ahead and do it. Tell the idiots to get off the street. Tell the idiots to stop doing what they're doing. The temperature being turned down has to fall upon Jacob Frey and Tim Walz. It has nothing to do with the federal government. They're doing what their job is. Your job is to keep order in the streets, which you can't do. So if you want to turn the temperature down, too late. Find a way to douse what's going on. Otherwise, you know what's coming. He just told you. Continue. Stop this campaign of retribution. This is not who we are. So this ain't going to work. You're saying let's turn it down, and in the very next sentence said it's your fault. Hey, can we turn it down? Because you did it. Your campaign of retribution is why we're here. It's not us. Well, I guess that's not turning the temperature down. And an appeal to Minnesotans. Now, this is what really got me. If you really wanted to turn the temperature down, you just put out this tweet, now would be the time for you to say, we're having a curfew, you're not going back out in the street, you're done. This is over, we're not going to be this type of people. But an appeal to Minnesotans, I know this is scary. We must speak out loudly, urgently, but also peacefully. That hasn't worked. There is no such thing as a peaceful protest. We cannot fan the flames of chaos. That's what he wants. That's obviously what you want. That's not somebody coming in with the white flag. That is not you coming in going, all right, I got it, Donnie. You're going to come in hard, real hard, if we don't get our act together. All right, I got the message received. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a curfew on right away, and I'm going to make sure that our officers surge to the area. I'm going to call in the Minnesota National Guard for help, and we're going to make sure these knuckleheads get off the street. What the heck was that? That was weird. I just heard something in my ear. All of that. But he didn't do that. He didn't do any of that. He said we must Speak out loudly, urgently, but also peacefully. That ain't going to work. You've been saying that. You've been telling the country that you've been having peaceful protests, but you haven't. So if President Trump gave his demand, and his demand was clean up your act, stop what's going on, or else, you can pretty much determine just from what was written here, the or else is coming. There's no other way to look at it. There's literally nothing else you can look at. You said you wanted to appeal to the president, and you went after the president and in essence told everybody, just keep doing what you're doing. So I think collectively we can now sit back in our abodes across the country and go, y'all about to get the spanking of a lifetime. It's coming. There's no doubt. If we see it, as tomorrow is Friday, going into the weekend, if we see it continue, they're going in. I can't tell you the day, can't tell you the time, but as I put it in a poll, are you ready? And you may be saying, like I do, hey man, you live in Boca, the nuts aren't going to come down there. I'm not just talking about the nuts protesting and doing crazy things. I'm talking about what may happen in Minnesota should this order be given. This order's may, if it gets given, and understanding that people stole the rifle out of the FBI car last night and they've got people's names, and if they decide to do something stupid, don't be surprised if we see people die. Your resolve is about to be tested. You are good people. I am a good person. If a cop told me to do something, if the military told me to do something, I would comply. These people are willing to die for the cause because we are already at the civil war I've been telling you about. They already know, despite all the people talking online, they already know they can't win this election. They only can fight to the death to steal it. Don't listen to the idiots out there. Don't tell me about any polls. I've got tonight, I'm going to show you some financial data, the housing market, just like I thought it would be. Just the reason why I bought that investment house and wanted to wait until after the first of the year. What happened? Pa-ching! Things taken off. You're watching the silver market, they're trying to suppress it, but they can't stop it. Yesterday, silver was almost like at 94, and they pushed it down to 86 and came right back up. Nothing the Democrats in the deep state are doing is working. They seized another tanker today. Today, the opposition leader from Venezuela is at the White House. Iran's starting to back off. You're seeing all the things happening that the Democrats in deep state can't possibly be happy with. And now, finally, the Republicans are talking about killing the filibuster. They're kicking and screaming, but they're trying. And last night there was a vote, and J.D. Vance had to break that vote. It was 50-50, and he went 51, the War Powers resolution. They couldn't get that done. They're running out of options, and the only options they have left are violence. Nothing's working. Nobody's paying attention to them. That's the other thing I've told you about peaceful protests. The only reason for a peaceful protest would be, if you wanted to actually just let people know that you had a problem with what's going on. That's not what they want. They're trying to force you into their ideology. And because of that, things may get really squirrely. And at this point, if you're going to church this weekend, you need to pray for America. Because when this decision gets made, when these people get deployed, you may see things you haven't seen in your lifetime. They want this. There's only so much that people can take of being attacked before they stop being attacked. He's got full authority. ICE has full authority as well to protect themselves, and things are about to get nuts. Now, Kristi Noem appeared on Fox and Friends this morning. I want to let you hear what she had to say.
and began striking the officer with a shovel or broomstick. Fearing for his life and safety as he was being ambushed by 3 individuals, the other officer fired defensive shots to defend his life. The initial subject was hit in the leg.
What more can you add from this incident last night?
Well, our agents were out doing what they're doing every single day across this country, as they were doing targeted enforcement, going after individuals that are breaking federal law. When this individual drove away, crashed his car, tried to run into a home, and as they were wrestling on the ground trying to detain this individual, 2 other men came out of that building and started attacking him with weapons and shovels and brooms. And as it was 3-on-1, the agent feared for his life and defensively had to take action. But, this kind of violence is perpetuated by what we hear the governor saying, what we hear the mayor in Minneapolis saying, and their irresponsibility is extremely reckless. Governor Tim Walz has my phone number. I have called him and talked to him and said, listen, you let your city burn down in 2020. Don't do it again. President Trump wants to keep everybody safe. We're enforcing federal law. We're protecting every single American. Work with us. But I want to remind you that Minneapolis itself, under the mayor's leadership and the governor's leadership, released almost 500 criminals out onto the streets rather than bring them to justice and turn them over to federal authorities. So they know they're releasing murderers and rapists and drug traffickers on the streets of Minneapolis. We're out there making sure they don't harm American citizens, and we're getting attacked while we do it. But we're going to continue to do our work and do what's right, because it's what President Trump promised the American people.
When was the last time you called the governor, Governor Walz?
Oh, I talked to him just a couple of days ago.
And what did he say when you told him to chill out?
I said, Tim and I served together in Congress. We both ran for governor at the same time. We have very different ways of governing. Our state in South Dakota was extremely successful and grew economically and safety. He drove it into the ditch. And it has been an absolute disaster. He let it burn down in 2020 and then asked surrounding governors to send our National Guard to help him because he waited too long to make any decisions to bring peace. I'm worried that he's doing the same thing.
I understand that history, but when you approached him on the phone and made your appeal, what did he say?
I said, sir, listen, Tim, you know the situation, what's going on. We are enforcing federal law. If you don't like the laws, go change them, but don't do it by giving place to these protesters and rioters that are perpetuating violence. And I said, you have my personal cell phone. You call me. If you need me, you call me. We will be there to help back you up, but protect your city, protect your state. And he paused for a few seconds, and he just said, yeah, okay. We have very different viewpoints of what's going on. I said, maybe we do, but we will be here if you need us, because that's our goal every day, is to keep people safe.
So yesterday he's encouraging people to keep a record on video with their phone. All right, here's part of that now. Listen.
You are not powerless. You are not helpless, and you are certainly not alone. All across Minnesota, people are learning about opportunities, not just to resist, but to help people who are in danger. Carry your...
What the hell does that even mean? What you just described is what your police should be doing. What you just described is what law enforcement should be doing. And you're giving the people in the community the license to act like some sort of law enforcement agency. You're not alone. You have the power. No, you don't have any power. That is a complete stupid message. No, you are supposed to peacefully protest. There is no power there. You have complete restraints. There are things you can do and things you can't do. And one of those things you can't do is break into FBI cars, steal documents, and steal weapons. One of the things you can't do is grab a shovel and a broom and start beating on an ICE agent. That's not the kind of power that you have. And instead, right when he made this horrible video, which I'm going to show you the whole video, it took a lot of work because it sounded horrible. That's not somebody who's trying to tamp things down. Obviously, this was last night, but his post this morning doesn't show somebody trying to tamp things down.
Phone with you at all times. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution.
Well, what the hell does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means what Hakeem Jeffries has said. It means what they've all been intimating, that they are going to go after everybody possible should they ever get back in power. If they get back in power, they're going to try and basically go crazy. And they'll have another January 6th type thing where they'll get people arrested and throw them in dungeons for merely enforcing the law. Notice what he didn't say. You're not taking video of your own people. You're not taking video of the people who are doing the crazy stuff in the street. No, that's fine. Don't turn the stuff with, people in the street and what you're doing and throwing snowballs and everything. We don't want that evidence. We just want to see the response that people do when they're hog-tying people and dragging them off. But there's no context. There's a picture going around this morning of this woman who's being hogtied and carried off. And I've seen so many captions. Is this what you voted for? And unfortunately, some of them post in the wrong place, and people are like, hell yeah. And then they show the entire video of what she did. See, it's easy to rile people up when you show someone getting hogtied and dragged off, but you didn't show the part that happened before that. And so that's what they're doing right now. They're trying to get, as he just said, a database put together so they can prosecute people. But how the hell are you going to do that when you don't have any context?
Welcome to answer that, but he's had a tough run politically in the last couple of years now, and some are suggesting that maybe it helps him or his party with the chaos. Do you think that there's some truth to that?
Oh, it's detracting from the fact that for years he's had the greatest fraud in American history happening right under his nose, and he didn't just allow it to happen. We believe, from all indications, that he was complicit in it, that he knew all about the Somalian fraud that was happening, stealing from government programs and taking dollars away from the most vulnerable individuals in this country and putting it in their pockets to make them rich. So he had this fraud going on for many years. He'd love to change the conversation, trying to demonize our ICE officers. But we're not going to. We are there. We're doubling down in Minneapolis to get to the bottom of this fraud, to make sure we bring perpetrators to justice and to make sure that we're doing the right thing and bringing safety to the streets.
So I take it.
By them surging more, we may see 4,000 or 5,000 by the end of the week. And it's going to be a different kind of approach. You're going to have the ones that are serving warrants, and then you're going to have a shell of people whose job is to protect them. It's pretty simple to see how they're going to do. You only need so many people going after the guys that you got to pluck. If you know that, somebody's in that building and we got to get him, you only need a small crew to go extract him. The rest of the thing is we need people who can shield these guys while they're doing their jobs. And the other thing that the mob can't take any control of is with more officers, they can be doing it in many locations at the same time. They haven't even thought about that. You see, last night when they got the word and everybody found out that somebody was shot on 24th Avenue, the word went out and they all surged at 24th Avenue. And that's where all the shenanigans began, over there. But if there was another action taking place on 21st Avenue or 19th Avenue, they can't, as much as they're coordinated, they can't deal with that because they just don't have enough people. So I fully expect the surge, and I fully expect when the Insurrection Act is invoked, that it's going to be the Marines that come in for protection to provide the opportunity for ICE to keep doing what they're doing.
Your answer to be a yes? Is that right? That you believe the chaos does help him and or his party?
Absolutely, because if you look at the mainstream press, they're helping them. They're misportraying the situation on the ground. We had an officer last night viciously attacked with weapons, 3-on-1, where his life was in danger, and he defended himself. And you see a lot of news reports out there that it was another ICE shooting. They didn't.
One of the things that I saw last night when I heard about them getting beat with a shovel and beating with a stick, a broomstick, and there's 3-on-1. How lucky that 1, 2, or all 3 of those guys aren't done. How lucky, because I'm wondering at that point that was the ICE officer resistant to defend himself. He had every right to, but you have to wonder if he's like, I don't want to have to do, I don't, hey guys, I don't want to, pow. But he didn't go pow, pow. And today it could be a much worse story. Can you imagine? During getting beat up, he popped off 3 shots, 4 shots, 5 shots, and he took out, wasted 2 or 3 of them. What would be happening today? If not for the fact that, hopefully they interview this guy and like, what did you do? Man, I didn't want to have to do it. They were beating me in the head with a stick and a shovel. And his only chance from getting away, because conversely, what if he wasn't armed? What would they have done to him? Nobody's talking about that on the media. None of them. Hey, what do you think they would have done if he wasn't armed? If he didn't shoot that one guy? Nobody's asking that question. That should be a question inside of the press conference today. Hey, Karoline, I understand that he got off and he wounded one guy. What if he didn't have his gun? What would have happened? Now, nobody can really answer that question, but it would just get people thinking, would they have killed him? How many blows to the head do you need to take with a shovel before you're done? This is so serious, and that's why I'm asking you, are you ready for what may happen with the Insurrection Act? Because you could see loss of life, and I want people to be ready for it. Understand, it's not a little bit pregnant. When he invokes the Insurrection Act and they say go for it, and these idiots start doing what they're doing, the people who are going to be guarding ICE, Marines probably, aren't going to just take this crap. And they will have, did you see the thing where they said that the lady who got shot, her wife didn't know they had live weapons, live rounds? What do you think? This is a comedy show that they're going to shoot and it's going to come out and say bang? They didn't know that they had live weapons, live ammunition. They're going to know shortly. They are going to know shortly, and there will be some idiot that will want to try it.
Report anything about the weapons or the fact that these individuals came out of a home to beat him mercilessly with a shovel, and that he had to protect his own life and his colleagues that were soon coming to back him up. So absolutely, I think that this is a distraction for him. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to continue to talk about the fraud and the stealing from the American taxpayers that he has allowed to have happen in Minneapolis. It is the largest fraudulent scheme in American history, we believe. It's in Minnesota. We're going to get to the bottom of it and bring people to justice, even the elected officials that allowed it to happen.
2 more things quick.
And it's interesting that the media doesn't even want to talk about the fraud. I flipped this morning and I was sitting there and I'm like, let me look at MSNBC, whatever it's called, CNN, CBS. Are you guys talking about the fraud? The $600 billion? The millions of dollars that they're finding in suitcases going, at the airport. Did you know that they surged to the airport? They're surging to the Minneapolis airport because now they're going to check the documentation of everybody working in the airport. Because it has come to light that many of the people who were facilitating this were Somalians working at the freaking airport. They created an entire umbrella of crime. They brought the Somalians in. They showed them how to steal from the government. They showed them how to transfer the funds. They showed them how to take the funds onto airplanes so they wouldn't get caught. And it was a complete crime syndicate. And so now they're going in and they're checking the people at the airport because they've gotten word that the Somalis are the people checking the luggage. My gosh, this doesn't end.
I don't have much of time. The mayor yesterday was warning people not to take the bait. That was his words, right? We cannot counter Donald Trump's chaos with our own brand of chaos. Do you sense that he's backing away from his tougher language perhaps a week ago?
It's better than it was a week ago, but he's got a long ways to go. He needs to start working with our law enforcement officers. We could go get these criminals off the streets with their partnership and do it in a safe manner with less agents if he told everybody to go home and said it was no longer acceptable. The violent rioters that we're seeing on the streets today are there because of the mayor and how he's spoken. He needs to make sure that he's working with us, with his law enforcement officers, to make sure we're arresting the dangerous ones and sending the rest of them home.
Last point, the president's threatening the Insurrection Act. Just a quick definition for our viewers. Authorizes the president to deploy military forces inside the U.S. to suppress rebellion or domestic violence or to enforce law in a certain situation. How serious is that threat right now? Will that happen, Madam Secretary?
You know, I spoke to the president this morning about several different things, but we did discuss that. And that certainly is within the president's constitutional authority to use that if he thinks he needs to keep people safe. What I love about this president is the very first question that he asks me is, how are you doing and how are our people doing in this country? How are the people doing and our law enforcement officers? What can we do to keep them safe, but to also make sure we're bringing dangerous criminals to justice?
Well, there's a lot of work to be done based on what we're seeing in Minnesota, and who knows what comes next. Thank you for your time.
Did you hear an answer? I didn't. I didn't hear an answer. Hey, do you think it's a real? Well, you know, he's going to do what he thinks he needs to do. I love how they're tight-lipped, because you don't want to give up any sort of operational plans to somebody in the media. What we've seen from President Trump is he doesn't post things unless, of course, he's going to do it. Unless, of course, he's ready to absolutely do it. They're talking about it right now on Fox. Let's take this feed real quick.
Only trying to do their job. I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that's taking place in that once great state. You're an attorney. Is he on solid legal ground to do that?
He is, but this is what I was talking about when I was saying DEFCON 5 earlier. This is the last card to play. It's fairly rare, but what he would be doing, understand, by invoking the Insurrection Act, what it does do is it allows him to send in, at the very least, the National Guard. And so that already has been adjudicated under other auspices as something that right now is a little gray. But under the Insurrection Act, he can do it. They'll fight it. But at the end of the day, Article 2 gives him this. He can do it. But
Wait. They'll fight it. How are they going to fight it? By the time they get into court, the troops will already be on the ground. He's already going. It's not a winnable case. They're going to try and delay it, but they can't really delay it. The Democrats, as he said, DEFCON 5, you're out of options at that point. The nuke has been launched. You can't put that back into the silo. And I'm pretty sure that's what President Trump is going to do. And at that point, it doesn't really matter what the Democrats say. And here comes Karoline, right on time. Well, she's not on time, but nonetheless, let's get to it.
Today, thank you all for coming. President Trump is making America affordable again through his proven economic formula of powerful tariffs, fair trade deals, massive middle-class tax cuts, energy dominance, and aggressive deregulation. The overwhelmingly positive economic data released this week underscores the significant progress the president has already delivered. Tuesday's CPI report marked the latest confirmation that President Trump has defeated Joe Biden's inflation crisis. Since President Trump took office, core CPI has increased at just a 2.4% annualized rate, substantially lower than the 3.3% annual rate inherited from the Biden administration last January. Importantly, as inflation cools, Americans' wages are rising, giving the American people more purchasing power. And with what is likely going to be a record-breaking tax refund season in the next couple of weeks, the American people will be reaping the rewards of the massive tax cuts that were signed into law by the president. Thanks to President Trump's signing of no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security, boosting the child tax credit, and locking in the 2017 Trump tax cuts, independent estimates project the average American tax filer could expect up to an extra $1,000 bump to their tax refund next year. This is going to be a helpful boost to working families who are making ends meet. On the energy front, the national average price for a gallon of regular gas this week fell to its lowest level in 5 years, thanks to President Trump's drill baby drill agenda. According to Gas Buddy, the average price for regular gas on Monday was below $3 per gallon in 43 states, below $2.75 per gallon in 30 states, and at or below $2.50 per gallon in 17 states. In fact, gas prices were below $2 a gallon at stations in at least 19 states. Don't forget, this was unheard of just a couple of short years ago. Overall, drivers are projected to spend $11 billion less at the gas pump this year than they did last year, resulting in hundreds of dollars in critical savings for the average American family. We're also seeing the housing market rebound as borrowing costs ease and income growth outpaces home price gains. According to a new report also released this week from the National Association of Realtors, existing home sales in December rose to their fastest pace in 3 years. To further improve housing affordability, President Trump has recently announced and directed Fannie and Freddie to purchase $200 billion worth of mortgage bonds. As a result of these actions, mortgage rates have fallen to their lowest level in years. As of last Friday, rates for the average 30-year mortgage are down more than 1 full percentage point. Because of these significant declines, monthly housing payments are now at their lowest level in 2 years, and we expect this decrease to continue. As someone who was enormously successful in real estate, President Trump understands that owning a home is about more than just having a physical asset. It's about empowering young people to stake their claim in the American dream. It's about giving newlyweds a place to make their own and start a family. It's about promoting the spirit of hard work, determination, and yes, the rugged individualism that has made America the greatest country in the history of the world. President Trump knows America is strongest when it's a nation of owners, not renters, and he is determined to unlock that opportunity for as many Americans as possible. That's why he will outline additional housing initiatives during his major speech in Davos next week, and we look forward to seeing many of you there. Finally, this morning, President Trump unveiled a healthcare plan for America called the Great Healthcare Plan, and a video message detailing his solutions to lower costs for all Americans and significantly improve our healthcare system. The Great Healthcare Plan will accomplish this through 4 common sense pillars. Number 1, permanently lowering prescription drug prices. Congress can get this done by codifying President Trump's historic Most Favored Nation initiatives into law to guarantee Americans the same low prices for prescription drugs that people in other countries around the world pay. Additionally, by increasing consumer choice by making more verified, safe pharmaceutical drugs available for over-the-counter purchases. Number 2, the Great Healthcare Plan will stop sending big insurance companies billions in extra taxpayer-funded subsidy payments and instead send that money directly to eligible Americans to allow them to buy the health insurance of their choice. Additionally, by funding a cost-sharing reduction program for healthcare plans and ending kickbacks from pharmacy benefit managers to large brokerage middlemen. Number 3, the Great Healthcare Plan will maximize price transparency by requiring any healthcare provider or insurer who accepts either Medicare or Medicaid to publicly and prominently post their pricing and fees to avoid surprise medical bills. This is an incredibly popular policy that has been bipartisan for many years, and President Trump is officially and firmly calling on Congress to get it done. And number 4, holds big insurance companies accountable by requiring them to publish rate and coverage comparisons up front on their websites in plain English so consumers and everyday Americans can make the best purchasing decisions for them and their families. These are common sense actions that make up President Trump's Great Healthcare Plan, and they represent the most comprehensive and bold agenda to lower healthcare costs to have ever been considered by the federal government. Congress should immediately take up President Trump's plan and pass it into law. For Americans watching at home, you can visit greathealthcare.gov right now for more information on the Great Healthcare Plan. And with that, we will open it up to questions. In our new media seat today, we have a familiar face, Riley Gaines. I'm surprised it took us a year to get you here, but I'm very happy to see you. I know you have a new podcast, The Riley Gaines Show. And so thank you. And you brought a beautiful baby and your lovely husband, too. So thank you so much for joining. And why don't you kick us off?
Absolutely. Well, thank you. First and foremost, congratulations to you. Being a girl mom will change your life in the best way possible. So excited you get to shop all the pink and the frilly and the bows. I was in Washington, D.C. earlier this week for the Supreme Court case. There were two arguments that were heard surrounding sex-based rights and if it's constitutional for states to pass laws that ultimately protect those rights for women. If the Supreme Court rules as anticipated in favor of maintaining these sex-based rights, is the administration prepared to take action against the states? I believe at this point it's 23 states that don't have those protections for women?
Absolutely. And as you know, Riley, the administration already has done so. We've taken action in a number of fronts against these states who are failing to uphold the president's executive orders in this administration's policy of simply protecting women in women's sports and in women's private spaces. We've gone to the mat with large universities in this country as well to try to fight for what's fair and what's just for women and girls across the country. So I know you were at...
I'm going to switch to the Fox feed because they're showing the person asking the question, and because they're delayed, you're not even going to miss the answer to this question.
23 states that don't have those protections for women?
Absolutely. And as you know, Riley, the administration already has done so. We've taken action in a number of fronts against these states who are failing to uphold the president's executive orders in this administration's policy of simply protecting women in women's sports and in women's private spaces. We've gone to the mat with large universities in this country as well to try to fight for what's fair and what's just for women and girls across the country. So I know you were at the arguments. I listened to them myself as a woman and as a former athlete, and I think the president speaks on common sense on this issue, that women's sports and private spaces should be protected, and that there are two genders, there are two sexes. That is not something we should be afraid to say in this country. And I think, frankly, it was quite alarming to not only hear a couple of justices gravel over that basic, fundamental, biological fact that men and women are different but inherently equal, but we are certainly different, and women deserve such rights. We hope and expect that the Supreme Court will rule in the right way on this matter. Thank you. Gabe.
Caroline, thank you very much. A lot to talk about.
Sure. Isn't there always a lot to talk about?
What can you share about the president's meeting with Maria Corina Machado? Is it underway? What can you share about that? And then also, the president said yesterday that Delcy Rodriguez was, quote, a terrific person. Does the president trust the remaining members of the Maduro regime?
I will say, to your first question, the meeting was about to begin as I was stepping out of the Oval Office moments ago, so my understanding is that it's underway right now. I know the president was looking forward to this meeting, and he's was expecting it to be a good and positive discussion with Ms. Machado, who is really a remarkable and brave voice for many of the people of Venezuela. So the president looks forward to obviously talking to her about the realities on the ground in the country and what is taking place. As for Ms. Rodriguez, the president did speak with her directly this week. As you know, he revealed that to all of you yesterday. And Secretary Rubio and the administration have been in constant communication with Ms. Rodriguez and other members of the interim government in Venezuela. They have been extremely cooperative. They have thus far met all of the demands and requests of the United States and of the president. And I think you have all seen that play out. We obviously had a $500 million energy deal that was struck in large part because of the cooperation from Ms. Rodriguez. Venezuela and Ms. Rodriguez have also confirmed that they will be releasing political prisoners from Venezuela. There were 5 Americans who were recently released this week as well. So the president likes what he's seeing and will expect that cooperation to continue.
And regarding the investigation into the leak that the president referenced yesterday, what is the administration's position on the Washington Post reporter? The Post has reported that she was told that she is not a target of the investigation. Does the administration believe she did anything wrong? And then also, what is the administration's position on the Pentagon Papers case from the 1970s that affirmed reporters' right to publish classified information under certain circumstances?
Well, since this is an active investigation, I don't want to comment on it much more than what we did yesterday to obviously confirm the investigation, and I can confirm what the Attorney General stated and the President as well, which is that the individual, unfortunately a contractor at the Pentagon, chose to unlawfully leak classified and very serious information to this Washington Washington Post reporter, hence why the reporter's home was looked into by the FBI, rightfully so. And the administration is not going to tolerate leaks, especially from within the national security apparatus of the United States government, that put our nation's integrity and our national security at risk. Full stop. The president will not support that. I know the Secretary of War will not support that, and it will not stand. And legal action will be taken against anyone, whether it's a member of the press or whether it's an employee for a federal agency who breaks the law. If you break the law and if you endanger our men and women in uniform, you are going to be held accountable, period, full stop.
But does this
Jackie.
Does this administration believe that this reporter or any reporter has a right to publish classified information under certain circumstances?
Look, I think that we do not believe that individuals who have been given the privilege of holding a top secret clearance should be illegally leaking that classified information, and I know the American people agree with that. And I think it's a basic tenet of journalistic integrity not to publish information that could directly endanger the operational security or the brave men and women who are serving this country in uniform and putting themselves in harm's way to protect not just the people of this administration, but all of you in the press and all of their fellow Americans as well. Jackie.
Thank you, Karoline. I wanted to get the White House reaction to Iranian state TV broadcasting an implicit threat to the president's life. It was images of the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, according to reports, with the message, "This time it will not go wrong."
I have not seen that, to be honest with you, Jackie. We'll take a look, and I'll let the president and his national security team examine that footage to ensure its legitimacy. Again, I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it. What I will say with respect to Iran is that the president and his team have communicated to the Iranian regime that if the killing continues, there will be grave consequences. And the president received a message, as he revealed to all of you and the whole world yesterday, that the killing and the executions will stop. And the president understands today that 800 executions that were scheduled and supposed to take place yesterday were halted. And so the president and his team are closely monitoring this situation, and all options remain on the table for the president.
Netanyahu encouraged him against strikes.
Look, it's true that the president spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu, but I would never detail details about their conversation without giving the expressed approval by the president himself. Ouija.
Thank you, Caroline. Is it still the president's assessment that it would be very hard for Ms. Machado to leave Venezuela because he says she lacks the respect and support in that country? And will he raise that with her today?
I think the president's assessment that you just pointed out was based on realities on the ground. It was a realistic assessment based on what the president was reading and hearing from his advisors and national security team. And at this moment in time, his opinion on that matter has not changed.
He has also said that he would like there to be elections in Venezuela when the time is right.
That's right.
Do you have any update on when that might be? And is he committed to a transition to democracy for Venezuela?
Yes, and he is also committed to hopefully seeing elections in Venezuela one day, but I don't have an updated timetable for you today. Reagan in the back.
Thanks, Caroline. I have a question for you on Minnesota and then also Venezuela.
Sure.
President Trump threatened invoking the Insurrection Act today in Truth Social post. I'm wondering what his tipping point is. Like, what would it take for him to invoke the Insurrection Act?
Look, that's only a question, frankly, Reagan, the president can answer. But the Insurrection Act is a tool at the president's disposal. As you know, it has been used sparingly, but it has been used by previous presidents in American history. And I think the president's Truth Social post spoke very loud and clear to Democrats across this country, elected officials who are using their platforms to encourage violence against federal law enforcement officers, who are encouraging left-wing agitators to unlawfully obstruct legitimate law enforcement operations. And if you talk to any law enforcement officer, no matter what level they work at, they want to be working with their counterparts, whether that's at the federal level or the federal authorities wanting to work with their counterparts at the state and local level. And it's truly shameful that now for more than a year, you've had elected Democrat governors and mayors who have basically held their state and local law enforcement hostage and told them, you cannot cooperate with federal law enforcement. Why? they cooperated under the Biden administration. It's because these Democrats are deranged in their hatred for President Trump, and they are holding their state and local law enforcement hostage as a result. And these Democrat mayors and governors are doing this over what? Over the lawful and legitimate law enforcement operations to remove violent criminals from the streets of Minnesota, from the streets of California, from the streets of New York, and from the streets of every state across this country. And you don't see these riots and this vandalism taking place in states like Florida. Why? Because you have a governor in that state who has empowered federal and local authorities to work together. And it's despicable what we're seeing from these Democrat politicians, especially in sanctuary states and cities across the country.
Yesterday, Karoline.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, thank you so much. My question is, President Trump has talked twice in recent days, once at the Kennedy Center and then to Reuters again last night about canceling the election. Why is he talking about this?
I believe you're referring to the president's interview at Reuters last night. I was in that interview. It was a closed-door interview. Obviously, there was not audio or video. The president was simply joking. He was saying, we're doing such a great job. We're doing everything the American people thought. Maybe we should just keep rolling. But he was speaking facetiously.
And then one more.
Sure.
On the labor secretary. She's under investigation. Has he spoken to her about this?
I don't know if the president has spoken directly to the secretary. If they have, I'm unfamiliar with that conversation. But I have spoken to the president about that report regarding the secretary. He's aware of the internal investigation, and he stands by the secretary, and he thinks that she's doing a tremendous job at the Department of Labor on behalf of American workers. PBS, go ahead.
You were mentioning a moment ago about working federal, state, local officials in Minneapolis. Governor Walz's office is saying today that he's trying to get a hold directly with the president. Have they spoken? And if they haven't, why haven't they spoken if there's a desire from Walz, as they're saying, to de-escalate what's happening there?
I'm not sure if that's a genuine offer to speak with the president. I was with the president about 30 minutes ago, and they hadn't spoken at that point. Look, the president is always willing to answer the phone when people pick up and call. When there was another tragic shooting many months ago in Governor Walz's state, he spoke directly with the governor. But I would ask that the governor stops inciting the harassment and illegal obstruction of law enforcement in his state. All ICE and federal law enforcement are trying to do are remove people like this off of the streets of Governor Walz's city in Minneapolis and of his state in Minnesota. If you look at some of the individuals in this photo, these are all illegal alien criminals who came into our country under the previous administration. This is some of the most disturbing crimes you will ever read about, and there's only a few reporters in this room who will actually talk about these individuals. This is all ICE is trying to do. They are trying to remove people like this from Governor Walz's state. And so yes, he should pick up the phone, and he should say that he will cooperate with this president and with the federal government in making Minnesota safer, because that's all President Trump and his administration want to do. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. The president says he wants money to go directly to Americans so they can buy their own insurance. How exactly would this work? And can the president assure Americans that this will be enough to cover their health care costs?
So this is the second principle in the president's health care plan, lowering insurance premiums specifically and ensuring that that money is going directly back to the American people and cutting the kickbacks that then raise those premiums. So this plan, once put into legislative text and passed by Congress and sent to the president's desk, will stop sending big insurance companies billions of an extra taxpayer-funded subsidy payments, and instead send that money directly to eligible Americans to allow them to buy the health insurance of their choice through, you may have heard it be referred to as health savings accounts. Whether that ends up being the actual name of such accounts, we'll have to see. Again, Congress and the White House are going to work together to put this plan into action. And then secondly, the Great Health Care Plan will fund a cost-sharing reduction program for health care plans, which will save taxpayers at least $36 billion and reduce the most common Obamacare plan premiums by over 10%, and that's according to the Congressional Budget Office.
But 20 million Americans in recent weeks have seen their health care costs soar. Can he assure them that if this plan is put in place, that they will be able to cover those costs?
If this plan is put in place, every single American who has health care in the United States will see lower costs as a result. They will see more transparency. All of these proposals that are within the Great Health Care Plan are incredibly popular with the American people, and they will impact everyone. down. Not just a small fraction of those who are within the healthcare marketplace, but every single American will continue to see their costs go down. And I will note that they already are with respect to prescription drug prices. When you look at what the president has done with most favored nations, you've seen these big pharmaceutical companies in the Oval Office saying that this president and his team were nonstop around the clock pressuring us and negotiating with us to lower the cost of prescription drugs for Americans. And we are already seeing that to the tune, in some cases, of more than 500%. And that Trump RX website is something that the administration will be formally launching very soon, so Americans will have access to those lower costs of drugs. Josh.
Thank you. The president has called on credit card companies to lower the cap rate to 10% effective the 20th next week. If they don't do that, what's his what'll he do? What's the threat?
Well, tariffs? No, I'm just kidding. The president certainly has an expectation, Josh, that the credit card companies will do this, just as he did with the pharmaceutical companies, that they will lower costs for American consumers. I don't have a specific consequence to outline for you, but certainly this is an expectation and, frankly, a demand that the president has made.
Can you give us an update on the Fed? Sorry. There was some reporting from, I think, Fox Business that Rick Reeder had an interview this week scheduled. The president's indicated he's already made a selection, or at least he's settling on someone. Where is he in that process, and when can we expect an announcement? Is he still doing interviews?
Look, the president is in the same place as you all have been asking about this for many, many weeks. He's in a decision-making phase. There are a few people who he likes very much for this job, maybe less than that. The truth is, like with all decisions, it's a decision for the president to make. And he said to Reuters in that interview last night that he thinks he'll be finally making that decision in the next couple of weeks. So we will see.
And very quickly, there's been some criticism from other governments about Grok and XAI, the Twitter AI bot, and things it's been doing to manipulate images, including whether that would violate the Take It Down Act that the First Lady has supported. We've not heard from this administration on it. Elon Musk says that they've disabled that, but I wanted to ask you whether the administration has a position and whether that's something that you will be pursuing, or whether the president has talked to Mr. Musk about that.
Yes, I will talk to the Office of Science and Technology, and we will get you a firm statement and answer on exactly where the administration stands. I don't want to speak on that without speaking with the experts on it. Yes.
Just to follow up on the health care plan, one of the things in the Affordable Care Act was coverage of pre-existing conditions. Is there any discussion or inclusion on that issue in the president's plan?
The president's plan that he outlined today will have no impact on individuals in this country with pre-existing conditions. Obviously, that's a continued conversation that the White House will have with Congress, but that's not the president's intention with the great health care plan. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions on Minneapolis.
And then you. Go ahead.
Thanks. Two questions on Minneapolis, one on the ICE agent and the other on the rioting. I believe last night there were protesters or rioters that rifled through an FBI car, took weapons. We had a reporter embedded with ICE who said that she saw constant harassment all evening. Can you speak to the rhetoric we're hearing from Democrat politicians, whether they are causing violence against ICE, as well as some of the headlines we've seen, not including the full story?
Yeah, I mean, to your first point, I think I've addressed that these Democrat governors and mayors in not just Minnesota, but in states across the country are essentially, they've referred to ICE agents who, again, are brave men and women. And I would encourage everyone in this room, and I would encourage Governor Walz and other Democrats who are demeaning law enforcement to sit down and have a cup of coffee with an ICE agent or a Border Patrol agent. These are great, patriotic men and women who have families, who put on the uniform every day and are following our nation's immigration laws at the direction of their bosses and again, at the direction of the law. They are simply trying to enforce the law. And the Democrat Party has demeaned these individuals. They've even referred to them as Nazis and as the Gestapo. And that is absolutely leading to the violence we're seeing in the streets. If you look at some of the images out of Minneapolis last night, look at this vehicle. Look at what it says. It says F ICE. You have these individuals who are putting their middle finger, proudly so, at the camera. Another ICE individual, a vehicle that was vandalized last night by these left-wing agitators. People don't do this without encouragement from people in power who make them feel like it's okay. Here's another one. And I'm pretty sure this car, you can't see it, said the best agent is a dead agent or something to that effect. This is despicable rhetoric that we're seeing, and the media is absolutely complicit in this violence, because if you look at the headline from CNN, protests erupt after federal agent shoots man in Minneapolis, that is not the story, that is not the truth. If you actually want to know the truth, you can look at what the Department of Homeland Security released, which is that this ICE agent was executing a targeted operation against a Venezuelan illegal alien who was unlawfully present in the country, who fled by car and then fled by foot. And when this ICE agent tried to detain the individual, 3 more of his comrades came rushing out of a house and started ambushing and attacking the ICE agent. They used a shovel or a broom to smash his face in. And so yes, that agent had to use self-defense and take up his weapon to protect his own life. That is what's happening on the streets of Minneapolis. That's what's happening on the streets, unfortunately, of these Democrat-run cities and states where you have elected officials who are encouraging such violence against our brave men and women in law enforcement.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. First, a follow-up on one of my colleagues who asked you about the president's interview with Reuters. You said that he was joking about canceling the elections, but Americans for generations have fought and died for democracy, for this democracy. Are you saying that the president finds the idea of canceling elections funny?
Andrew, were you in the room? No, you weren't. I was in the room. I heard the conversation, and only someone like you would take that so seriously and pose it as a question in that way.
Second, Caroline,
Thank you, Caroline. Senator Elizabeth Warren said that the president called her earlier this week to discuss caps on credit card interest rates. I'm curious, would the president work with her and other Democrats in Congress on a legislative fix to this issue?
I think the president would work in good faith with anyone in Congress for a good legislative fix that would benefit the American people. And that's precisely why he called Senator Warren earlier this week on that matter.
Thanks, Caroline. Earlier, you were just defending ICE agents generally. And earlier on, Secretary Noem spoke to the media, and she said, among other things, that they are doing everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 U.S. citizens were detained by ICE, and Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed it unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist, and it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat. But you're pretending like you're a journalist, but you're a left-wing activist. And the question that you just raised and your answer proves your bias. You should be reporting on the facts. You should be reporting on the cases. Do you have the numbers of how many American citizens were killed at the hands of illegal aliens who ICE is trying to remove from this country? I bet you don't. I bet you didn't even read up on those stories. I bet you never even read about Laken Riley or Jocelyn Nungray or all of the innocent Americans who aliens in this country, and the brave men and women of ICE are doing everything in their power to remove those heinous individuals and make our communities safer. And shame on people like you in the media who have a crooked view and have a biased view and pretend like you're a real honest journalist.
Quick questions on Iran. I wanted to ask first, just if you can say, how close was the president to potentially launching strikes last night, and was it the Gulf states that convinced him not to do that, as some in the region there have said?
Well, look, Kelly, I know there's been a lot of speculation in the media about what the president is going to do at any given moment or any given night. And I would say a lot of these stories, to be honest with you, I've been reading them, and they've been based on anonymous sources who are pretending or guessing to know the president's thinking. The truth is, only President Trump knows what he's going to do, and a very, very small team of advisors are read into his thinking on that. And as I just told you, he continues to closely monitor the situation on the ground in Iran. And as we saw yesterday, he had heard that the killings and executions would stop, and we have seen 800 people, their lives have been spared as a result of that. The president continues to closely monitor, but also keep all of his options on the table.
Caroline, 2 separate questions.
Sure.
On the Machado meeting first, what is it that the president feels that he needs to hear from her or from the opposition party that he hadn't heard prior to today, or he wanted to hear in the meeting, to be able to convince him to commit to some sort of a timeline for elections?
I'm not sure the president is going into such the meeting with expectations like you just laid out, Fran. I don't think he needs to hear anything from Ms. Machado. I think generally this is a meeting that the president was willing to take and willing to accept to meet Ms. Machado in person and to just have a frank and positive discussion about what's taking place in Venezuela. That's all.
And on the subject of Greenland, Jeff Landry, the president's special envoy for Greenland, wasn't in the White House meeting yesterday. Can you say why that was and what exactly the role he is playing in these conversations about acquiring Greenland?
Well, the Vice President and the Secretary of State were present for that meeting, and the meeting, it was a productive meeting. It was a good meeting, and in that meeting, the two sides agreed to really establish a working group of individuals who will continue to have technical talks on the acquisition of Greenland. Those talks will take place, I'm told, every 2 to 3 weeks, so this is a conversation the administration intends to keep having with the Danes and with the respected delegation from Greenland. But the president has made his priority quite clear. He wants the United States to acquire Greenland. He thinks it's in our best national security to do that.
There have been multiple instances of American citizens being detained by ICE, and I'm wondering what the administration is asking the agency to do. What steps is the administration asking the agency to take to ensure that Americans are not wrongly arrested?
Obviously, ICE is focused on detaining individuals who are unlawfully present in the country. And there have been hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens who have been arrested and detained and deported from this country by ICE over the course of the last year. And that's their intention, and that is their goal.
Elizabeth. Thank you, Karoline. What about on Greenland? Europe reportedly sent troops over there. Does that change at all what the president is doing on this? And then a second question. Yesterday, in a Senate help hearing, Senator Josh Hawley repeatedly asked a doctor if men can get pregnant, and she did not directly answer that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, to your first question on Greenland, I don't think troops in Europe impact the president's decision-making process, nor does it impact his goal of the acquisition of Greenland at all. To your second question, I mean, anyone in their right mind with common sense who's speaking honestly and candidly will say that men cannot get pregnant. And I think I can attest to that myself. So thank you all very much.
Damn. Oh, man. She took that guy out to the woodshed and just like the old comic book, and just whooped his butt. Oh my gosh. I haven't seen her eviscerate somebody that bad. That poor guy, he's probably wishing we didn't have the feed. I stayed with the other feed, the feed that was just on her, so you couldn't show his face. But Fox was doing it, and they had just, oh my God, everyone saw this poor guy just look like complete. The soy has overwhelmed him. Oh my goodness. I actually felt bad for him because she went on for about 30 seconds, just pop, the pop, the pop, the pop. He deserved every backhand that he got. Whew, wow, we'll be back in 90 seconds.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
I was checking the comments and somebody was so right. I didn't even realize it. You don't go poking a pregnant woman, dude. I didn't even think about that. You're absolutely right. I didn't even consider that. Not, oh my goodness. You know, her hormones are raging. You got all of it. She gave it all to you. She probably thank you afterwards. Thank you. I needed that. That felt good. Getting that off your chest. Even husbands don't like poking pregnant women. So I feel for you, bro. That's something you should not have done. Great comment. I went by so fast, but I couldn't get it to pop up on the screen. So I want to show you a couple things before I get back into Tim Walz. She mentioned something, and down here, all of us are absolutely loving it. We're seeing it. I hope you see it in your area. This economy, if you don't know where to go look, you're not being told the right information. They're lying to you, or better this, they're lying by omission. They're not telling you. I'm looking at the stock market right now is up 400 points. As you know, silver and gold doing crazy things. And now the housing market is doing the exact same thing as well. All of the cylinders are firing. Everything seems to be going to plan. As I posted, I love it when a good plan comes together. And the good part about it was we foretold this. We were able to see what was going to happen. And in fact, I told you because both with silver and gold and real estate, I wasn't being a spectator. I'm a participant. I felt so confident of what President Trump was doing. I'm like, buy some gold. Buy some silver. Well, time to get back into the real estate game because I could see where things were headed. And finally, the media has caught up.
Let's get some economic data that just crossed from Rick Santelli. Diana Olick also has some news for us as well. Rick, we'll start with you.
Yes, David. Business inventories for October, fourth quarter number expected up 0.1%, comes out up 0.3%, and last month also joins the up 0.3 club, a revision from up 0.2. So back-to-back 0.3 for November and October, and they're tied for the second highest builds on business inventories of 2025. The high was up 0.4 in January of 2025. Of course, the more widgets you make on the inventory side, the more you contribute to GDP. And GDP for the fourth quarter is already expected to be rather large. We also have existing home sales for December, and for that, we aim east to Diana Olick. Diana?
Well, Rick, existing home sales in December rose 5.1% from November to a seasonally adjusted annualized rate of 4.35 million units. That's a strong beat. The street was looking for a 2% gain. Sales were up 1.4% year over year. Now, this count is based on closings, so contracts likely signed in October and November when the average rate on the 30-year fixed mortgage didn't move very much, hovering around 6.2 to 6.3%, but down from close to 7% where it was last spring and early summer. Inventory was the big headline, 1.18 million units available for sale at the end of December, down 18% from November, still up 3.5% year over year. With stronger sales, though, that dropped to a 3.3-month supply, which is considered quite lean. That kept prices in the positive.
All right, let me just jump in here and give you a term that you can actually look at in your own individual market. There's a term in real estate that investors know, and we cut our teeth on this term, and nobody ever talks about it. She kind of just dabbled on it, but she didn't get in deep. That term is called absorption rate. And absorption rate is if you take like the last 3 to 6 months and you say, what's the inventory level of homes? And then you say, how many homes sold in that period of time? And then you're going to get a number when you do that math, and it's going to come 5, 3, 7. A higher number means there's more inventory than there are buyers. That would be called a seller's market. The lower the absorption rate means houses are selling quicker, and it becomes a buyer's market because you don't want to miss it. So if you pay attention to the absorption rate and what she just said, she's basically saying the market has heated up. They're moving quicker. The faster they move. And so it's like you walking into an auction and everybody's raising their hand because they all want to buy from you. It is a big number that we all look at and we're like, okay, what's it look like in this neighborhood? There's too much inventory. And too much inventory, a lot of people would say, is good for an investor, but I'm looking for something I can turn quickly. So if I can find a deal someplace where things are turning quickly, that's where I want to be, which is contrary to what a lot of people think. A lot of people think, hey, if it's going slow, you're going to be able to cut a deal with the seller, and the seller is going to be desperate. But if nobody's buying it, I don't care if the seller's desperate. I want something. I want to be in a market that's moving quickly. Those people, from the outside looking down, are like, well, it's a seller's market because the properties are moving quickly. It's a buyer's market, especially if you're looking to turn the deal, because you're in a hot spot, that those houses that you can buy are going to move faster. So the normal absorption rate, you flip it on its head. And that's something where a lot of people don't look at. They think a seller's market or a buyer's market, depending on how you're looking at things. And I'm not trying to confuse you, but I want to be in a market where things are happening. Nobody wants to go into a nightclub that's empty. Nobody wants to go into a restaurant that's empty. Nobody wants to go to a concert where there's nobody else there. It's boring. What am I supposed to do? Just sit here with myself? I want to go where the people are partying. I want to go where things are popping, because at that point, I know the asset that I have that may cost me more because things are popping also tells me the appreciation can go a lot quicker, and I can turn a property in 30, 60, 90 days. And that's why I'm salivating.
Just barely $405,400 was the median sale price, up 0.4% annually. That is down from a 1.2% annual gain in November. Sales continue to be more robust on the highest end of the market, and homes are staying on the market.
That's the key. See, a lot of my contemporaries who buy and sell properties, they operate in the hood. And what I've been finding over the last, 8 to 10 months is that's not where I want to be. I want to be in the higher end luxury market. I want to play in, I understand there's certain of you that can't play in that market. I want to play in $800, $900 million houses, because these people, number one, they're credit agnostic. Number two, for the most part, they're rate agnostic. Number three, they're ready to do a deal now. And number four, a large portion of them are cash buyers. They're coming from New York. They're coming from California. And they're taking their money with them, and they're ready to move in now, sight unseen. I like the house. I like the picture. Here's my deposit. So when you hear things like that, again, you got to listen. The luxury market is moving quicker. It's more robust. What's that tell you? If things are moving faster and it's in this area, then that's where you want to throw your pole. You don't want to fish into some place where it's like, yeah, we've been out here for 4 or 5 days and we can't. You want to be someplace where, boom, you get something. And right now, it's in the luxury market. So many of you are probably saying, well, Barry, I can't do anything in the luxury market. That's the other side of the coin. You have to find people you can partner with who can do that. And they're out there. But I don't know. I'm just a little bit excited. Sorry about that.
Get longer, 39 days on average versus 35 days a year ago. We do not have any data on first-time buyers, investors, and all cash, as the realtors are now waiting until the end of the month to report that. Sarah?
Okay. Yeah, and I can't wait for that report, because once you find out there were more cash buyers, which you can begin looking if you have certain data points, but you can find out where these cash buyers are buying. Pretty much they're in the luxury market because of the agnostic priorities I just mentioned. They don't care about credit. They don't care about mortgage rates. They don't care about having to come see and kick the tires. They'll send someone to go look at it. And if they like it, they'll just go ahead and buy it. And sometimes it's often cash or a strong amount of cash down, maybe 40, 50%, and then get a small mortgage on their property. Bottom line is, if you're paying attention to the shift in the markets, if you're paying attention to where profitability is, and you understand where that puck is going, you now know you can basically, get in the shallow end and be able to play in the deep end. And so all the indicators right now, all of them, even unemployment, things are starting to look as though we're about to take off. And what did he tell us? He told us last year, strap on, it's going to be a rocket ship. 5% GDP, 6% GDP, and they're focusing on these idiots in Minnesota. I don't care. I really don't. I show you a lot of it because it's news, but man, if I had compared this to a restaurant, this stuff is like the fast food. That's McDonald's. I want to go eat a nice meal. I don't eat steak, but nice big seafood meal. I encourage you to do the same. Start looking at the stuff that's fulfilling and not the fast food, not the Twinkies, not that crap. That means nothing. That's why I keep telling you, when people like the Panikins and the Black Pillars talk, I'm thinking to myself, it does nothing for you. I could put on all the videos all day, 24/7 of these idiots running around in the street. That's the kind of information that I think most people, even if you're not there yet, if you begin educating yourself on that, I can show you how to flip a house with basically no money. And there's so many different ways you can do it. Yes, I am excited. All right, so let's continue with the insanity that we've been seeing. This is Tim Walz and his video last night. It may sound a little hanky at times because whoever his people were that filmed this video completely screwed it up, and to the point where he was getting hammered online and he deleted it.
ICE agents are going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live, ordering over people indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers. And at grocery stores, at bus stops, even at our schools, they're breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street, just plain grabbing Minnesotans and shoving them into unmarked vans, kidnapping innocent people with no warning, ordering no due process. Let's be...
Okay, so he has spoke so far 30 seconds. Did you count how many lies he told in 30 seconds? This is a guy who today wants President Trump to turn it down, and in 30 seconds, there must have been 5, 6, 7 lies. Complete, unadulterated lies. How can you even talk to somebody who can't even tell the truth? And now you put this video out, and President Trump says, well, might have to do the Insurrection Act, and now you're freaking out. And as I'm looking on camera right now, live, they took what Tim Walz said, and they wiped their butt with it. I told you, he has lost control of these people. Pretty bad.
Very, very clear. This long ago stopped being a matter of immigration enforcement. Instead, it's a campaign of organized brutality against the people of Minnesota by our own federal government. Last week, that campaign claimed the life of Renee Nicole Good. We've all watched the video. We've all seen what happened. Ordering, yet, instead of conducting an impartial investigation so we can hold accountable the officer responsible for Renee's death.
See, that's another lie. They keep repeating that. We need to hold him accountable. You don't understand the Supremacy Clause. You don't understand federal immunity. You don't understand any of that. You don't care. You want to just keep feeding the people who listen to your crap this stuff. And now, I mean, you're looking, well, here, I'll show you. They're out here again. It's 1 o'clock Central Time, and they're all out there getting ready to fight again. They can't stop.
The Trump administration is devoting the full power of the federal government to finding an excuse to attack the victim and her family. Just yesterday, 6 federal prosecutors, including the longtime career prosecutor leading the charge to investigate and eliminate fraud in our state's programs, quit their jobs rather than go along with this assault on the United States Constitution. As bad as it's been, Donald Trump intends for it to get worse. This week, he went online to promise that, quote, the day of retribution and reckoning is coming. That's a direct threat against the people of this state who dared.
No, it wasn't. Do you see anything, given that this was last night, do you see anything that's even remotely contrite, even remotely wanting to sit down and have a conversation? This video, I believe, is 4 or 5 minutes long, and it could have been 90 seconds. It really is that simple. We are going to cooperate with ICE, and if you're not supposed to be here, maybe it might be a time for you to make the call and get together and figure out how you're going to leave. That's it. I mean, it's really that simple. People on the news are trying, not on this channel, but on other channels are trying to make this a big deal like this. It's some, that they got to work through. It's pretty simple. If you're not supposed to be here, you got to go. If you committed fraud, you're going to go to jail. That's it. So I don't understand all this stuff that he's talking.
To vote against him 3 times and to continue to stand up for freedom with courage and empathy and profound grace. All across Minnesota, people are stepping up to help their neighbors who are being unjustly and unlawfully targeted. They're distributing care packages and walking kids to school and raising their voices in peaceful protest, even though doing so has made many of our fellow Minnesotans targets for violent retribution.
They won't get off this peaceful protest thing because they can't get off the peaceful protest thing. We've seen it. Just like he says, we've seen the video of, what's her name? The chick that got wasted. We've seen that video. We also see this stuff. I mean, when you're looking at this.
Success for any of these lawsuits coming out of Minnesota. It may have to go to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to make clear again, because they said it 10 years ago, to say it again. Immigration law is legitimate. The Constitution gives that to the federal government. States don't have to cooperate, but they sure have to get out of the way.
Just, to Paul's point, who are these people in the middle of a workday? I mean, they're walking around with signs of profanities on them. The ICE officers apparently are walking towards the protesters now. We've seen this a couple times, John.
Now let's see how peaceful it
gets. Just looking to see what happens. We're told that the Border Patrol... Okay.
There goes the peaceful part.
This is a serious clash happening right now. So John, we're told that the Border Patrol chief... Dan Bavino is with them at this time. Let's see if we can pick up the audio. Let's listen. Okay, so obviously
looks like tear gas.
That looked like a peaceful protest to you? No, there's nothing for you. Look at the gas. Oh my gosh.
Crowd. You heard the clack, clack, clack of the air guns firing pepper balls. Saw them yesterday in a similar protest that wasn't quite as big as this, firing pepper balls into the ground as opposed to actually firing them at the protesters themselves. We don't know why at this moment the federal officers have decided to push the crowd back. It may be that they were trying to get some vehicles out of that facility and the protesters were blocking the driveway. You still see some federal agents are back there blocking the driveway. But for some reason, the federal agents have decided it was time for this crowd to be dispersed. Let's listen to what some of the crowd is saying now here.
What are you doing?
So ice out now is some of the chants that we've been hearing.
Yep, the familiar refrain of shame on you, shame, shame, shame.
You're betraying the oath to the country.
Hold the line! Hey, I'm a combat veteran. You never did nothing for this country.
Hold the line. Yeah, they act like they're in some sort of Game of Thrones or something. Hold the line. Oh, you're a bunch of idiots. Yeah, I guess this speech by Tim Walz last night and his post today means absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Ordering folks, I know it's scary, and I know it's absurd that we all have to be defending law and order, justice, and humanity while also caring for our families and trying to do our jobs. So tonight, let me say once again to Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, end this occupation. Ordering done enough. Ordering 4 critical things to the people of Minnesota. 4 things I want you to hear as you watch the news and look out for your neighbors. First, Donald Trump wants this chaos. He wants confusion. And yes, he wants more violence on our streets. Ordering cannot give him what he wants. We must protest loudly, urgently, but also peacefully.
I guess they don't understand the definition of peacefully. I guess that part, maybe you need to explain to them what peaceful means, because what we're seeing is not peaceful. What we're seeing is a powder keg of things here. It looks like right now there's some vehicles. Oh my God, look at this clown. Look at this.
Officers will do whatever is necessary to protect those properties and to protect the agents. I think it's important to note that I was listening very closely to the press conference last night with the mayor, and I picked up on the line.
The dregs of society. You understand that Democrats have aligned themselves with complete sewer dwellers. Ugh.
Indeed, as hard as we will fight in the courts and at the ballot box, we cannot and will not let violence prevail. You're angry, I'm angry. Ordering is not a strong enough word. But we must remain peaceful. Second, you are not powerless. You are not helpless, and you are certainly not alone. All across Minnesota, people are learning about opportunities, not just to resist, but to help people who are in danger. Thousands upon thousands of our fellow Minnesotans are going to be relying on mutual aid in the days and weeks to come, and they need our support.
Oh, wait a second. One of the protesters has brought out the Matrix or something. He's got some sort of black delta. Oh, look at this dude.
So, Nicole, to your point about the lack of police backup, Dan Bovino, the Border Patrol chief, we believe we might have him up on the phone here in just a moment. He's on site. But if there are calls for backup, we don't know that.
What are they summoning the dark arts at this point? Walking around with a black triangle? Whoa, now they're going to start doing incantations and stuff against ICE. Oh my goodness, this is absolutely insane.
Tonight, I want to share another way you can help. Witness. Help us establish a record of exactly what's happening in our communities. You have an absolute right to peacefully film ICE agents as they conduct these activities. So carry your phone with you at all times. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Ordering us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but ordering evidence for future prosecution. The third thing I want to say to you tonight is, we will not have to live like this forever. Accountability is coming at the voting booth and in court. Ordering will reclaim our communities from Donald Trump.
Just to let you know, like I said, this was their video. I had to clean it up to get it even listenable. I mean, it was horrible. And then he had to delete it because it was so bad and he was getting trashed that a governor would put out such trash.
We will reestablish a sense of safety for our neighbors, and we will bring an end to this moment of chaos, confusion, and trauma. We will find a way to move forward, and we'll do it together. And we'll not be alone. Every day, we are working with business leaders, faith leaders, legal experts, and elected officials from across this country. They've all seen what Donald Trump is trying to do to our state, and they know their states could be next. And that brings me to the fourth thing I want to say tonight, Minnesota, how incredibly proud I am of the way that you've risen to meet this unbearable moment.
You're the governor of everybody in Minnesota, and you're kowtowing to these protesters, and you're saying you're proud of what they've done. As we all look at the news, and we all see what's happening, we all see that the woman tried to drive the car over the ICE agent. We have the story of them beating on the guy last night with a snow shovel, and the governor of that state posts a video and says, "I'm so proud of you." Wow. Just imagine that. The man who's the governor of the state is praising these nuts. Shameful.
But I'm not at all surprised, because this is who we are. Minnesotans believe in the rule of law, and Minnesotans believe in the dignity of all people. We're a place where there's room for everybody, no matter who you are, or who you love, or where you came from. A place where we feed our kids, we take care of our neighbors, and we look out for those in the shadows of life. Or an island of decency in a country being driven towards cruelty. We will remain an island of decency, of justice, of...
Think about what he just said. Some could interpret that he's saying Minnesota is going to secede from the nation. How the hell are you an island? In fact, you're the most non-island state there could possibly be. You're landlocked. You're not an island. You wish you were. You wish you didn't have to be a part of America. I'm sure we'd love to trade you for something else, but unfortunately, you're in the United States. And you're a governor and you're telling people you're an island, which is pretty much saying we can do what we want. This is not going to resolve itself the right way. Not when you got people like him, and I'm going to show you the mayor at the same time. The mayor, at least this was before the shooting last night. The mayor, which I think might be getting the chief of police a little pissed off, came out with the same sort of rhetoric.
Community of peace. And tonight I come before you simply to ask, don't let anyone take that away from us. Thank you, protect each other, and may God bless the people of Minnesota.
All right, so I had to stop it there because I don't know if his daughter filmed this video. I don't know if the wife was getting ready to turn the page and she wasn't paying attention. But watch how this video ends. You can leave now. Hey, you can go. Yeah, now. I don't know who was filming or if they went to go pee or something and he just stood there. And then they didn't edit it out. They left him. Get it, go. Oh my gosh. I don't understand these people. Okay, go away. All right, so now I think this part is where the right after the shooting last night. And for the first time, I'm wondering if there's a little window between the police and the mayor. I want you to listen as the chief of police, who's been straight on calling every shot that the ICE are so bad. Listen how he describes what happens last night, much to the chagrin of what the mayor thought.
Tonight, we're here to give an update on the ICE shooting that took place earlier tonight on the north side. This is the second in a week. The chief will be able to provide some details on the limited amount that we know thus far, and then I will provide some comments thereafter. Chief.
My name is Brian O'Hara, BRIANO''HARA. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. At 6:51 p.m., Minneapolis police received a 911 call reporting a shooting on the 600 block of 24 Avenue North. Preliminary information indicates that there was a struggle with a federal agent in front of the resident. During the struggle, the federal agent discharged his weapon, striking one adult male. The adult male then retreated inside of the residence, where he remained inside and refused to come out. Eventually, federal agents made entry into the residence, and the individual was brought to an ambulance where he has been transported to the hospital. Minneapolis police have secured the crime scene around the location, and the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, as well as the FBI, are on the scene processing the evidence. There's a crowd gathered in the area, and we have called for mutual aid from the Minnesota State Patrol and Hennepin County Sheriff. The crowd is engaging in unlawful acts.
That is what I wanted you to hear. Him saying that in front of the mayor, he just said, no, they're not peacefully protesting. I don't think Jacob was ready for that. I'm pretty sure Tim Walz probably screamed when he heard him say it. The crowd is engaging in unlawful acts. Sounds like somebody's taking the life preserver. I gotta save myself here because you people are nuts.
They've thrown fireworks at police officers and in multiple times, gas has been deployed. Police are attempting to disperse this unlawful assembly at this time.
He said it twice. So right there, the chief of police has more sense than the mayor and the governor. He just called it twice last night, unlawful assembly. Why all of a sudden is he willing to call this stuff an unlawful assembly, a non-peaceful protest? Who has talked to him? Because you've seen this guy come out many a times and he's talked about things and he omits stuff. He still hasn't talked about the shovel, has he? But it's an unlawful assembly. And it's like you can just watch Jacob Frey in the background here. He's not liking it at all.
I urge anyone that is at the scene to leave immediately. This is already a very tense situation, and we do not need this to escalate any further.
So why did he call it an unlawful assembly and ask people to leave? Shut it down and leave. Mayor doesn't, governor doesn't, but the chief of police has changed his tone. I found that to be very interesting. And in terms of the guys that were, doing the crazy stuff, I got that for you too. SV sent me this breaking. These are the newcomers who ambushed an ICE agent in Minneapolis in a 3-on-1, brutally assaulting him with a shovel, leading to self-defense shots being fired. All of them are from Venezuela. Julio Cesar Sosa Celis, Alfredo Alejandro, and Gabriel Alejandro Hernandez Ledezima. And there's these great looking upstanding people of Minnesota. That's who you're defending. That's who these people are defending. They're not even from here. Oh, they're just good people. They're not from here.
I have faith that the investigators are involved will follow every lead in this case and ensure it is completed to its logical conclusion.
There's still a lot that we don't know at this time, but what I can tell you for certain is that this is not sustainable. This is an impossible situation that our city is presently being put in. And at the same time, we are trying to find a way forward to keep people safe, to protect our neighbors, to maintain order. And we're in a position right now where we have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street.
Somebody's got to dig in and find out why you have a limited amount of ICE officers. There's something happening live right outside the White House. The lady Machado is leaving, and there may be an opportunity for her to take a couple of questions. I'm just monitoring it to see if she steps up to a podium. So we'll keep going here, and as soon as I can see if she steps up to a podium, we'll take a listen.
And by their neighbors. We cannot be at a place right now in America where we have two governmental entities that are literally fighting one another. Why are we put in this position? We're put in this position because...
Did you catch that? We have two legal entities, the federal and state, are fighting each other. You just admitted to fighting the federal government. The federal government's not fighting Minnesota. They're there to get these people out of here. These upstanding Venezuelans, get them out of here. Get the Somalis out of here. Nobody's fighting the city of Minneapolis. Those are the kind of inflammatory terms that you're saying to people watching in Minneapolis to get them to know, they're picking on us.
As we have approximately 600 police officers in Minneapolis, far fewer that are able to work at any given time. And there are approximately 3,000 ICE agents in the area. 3,000. The 600 police officers that we have are charged on any given day with investigating crime, stopping homicides from taking place, preventing carjackings. That's the work of a police officer in a city. Meanwhile, we have ICE agents throughout our city and throughout our state who, along with Border Control, are creating chaos. This is not the path that we should be on right now in America.
Yeah, somebody said in the comment here, so he's admitting open rebellion against the United States. He sure did. You caught that. He absolutely said it. We are fighting them. So that in itself is the fact that they are doing a rebellious act, an insurrection type act.
Thankfully, there's another path. And I want to talk to everybody who's out there, even people who aren't living in Minneapolis right now. Maybe you just put your kids to bed. Maybe you're cleaning up the dishes. I'm sure you love your family. There's no doubt in my mind that you love your town. Imagine if that city or that town was suddenly invaded by thousands of federal agents that do not share the values that you hold dear.
See, that's where he's wrong. Number one, if ICE came into Boca Raton, I would not feel that we were invaded. Good people don't feel that law enforcement is invading their town. Good people have nothing to worry about if there's extra law enforcement. You are admitting that you feel invaded, and you're telling your constituents that they've been invaded. Number two, it doesn't affect my values whatsoever because I believe in supporting law enforcement. My values don't change because there's more. Here, case in point. We have the Miami Dolphins here. Robin and I have season tickets. We went down to see every Dolphins game. When you go down to a Dolphins game, it looks like a, quote, invasion. There's sheriffs, there's local police, at times there's military to make sure that everybody is safe. And guess what? 60, 70,000 people have a great time. They don't go when they're worried, oh, hey man, there's some extra cops over here. Oh, did you see that? There's cops. Oh, they're going to search you. They want to make sure you're not bringing anything in. No, those align with our values. I'm sure during Christmas time, you guys had parades and you had, pageants and all kinds of stuff. And when you went there, there was probably an overabundance of police because they actually reinforce your values. The values that you say is, I want to make sure I can have a good time with my family. I don't want to walking around with my head on a swivel, even though I still do. Robin and I took some pictures a couple of weekends ago. We went to an art show down in Las Olas in Fort Lauderdale, packed. And they had barriers up so cars couldn't, drive in and do the stuff that the terrorists do. And there were police everywhere, and there were private security, and you couldn't go certain places. I didn't feel like there was an invasion. I felt that those police officers were supporting my values, making sure my wife could have a good time, keeping her safe. But somehow the people in Minneapolis feel like it's an invasion and it's against our values. Are these guys against your values? Tell me, Jacob, if I'd love to be in a press conference with you, are you worried about their values or the people in the neighborhood? Because I don't want those guys in my neighborhood. I don't want to live near these guys. My values are I should be safe when I go to sleep. I shouldn't have to worry about somebody coming through the front door or the back door. So what kind of values do these people have when they're worried about police presence? None. I don't have that worry. I know when I lay my head down, I feel very safe. Robin's okay. The dogs are okay. And I know the guards are, patrolling and doing what they have to do to make sure we are protected. I don't worry at night going, oh my God, there's guys out there in cars riding around with guns, and my values are, I'm kind of upset right now. My nipples hurt because I can't believe I'm being forced to live this way. Nobody feels like that. And if you do feel like that, then you move. Let me get the hell out of here. What these people feel, I don't know what kind of values they have. I can tell you what they're not. They're not American values.
Imagine if your daily routines were disrupted. The local cafe that you eat at was shut down because they're scared that their own family might get torn apart.
I'm pretty sure the Chinese restaurant or the Thai restaurant that I frequent almost every other day, right now while Robin's away, I frequent them every day. In fact, yesterday, because it's not too far, I picked it up on the way home. I went in there and they're okay. Who is shutting their doors because there's more police? Sounds to me like you got a big problem with the people in your town. You can answer that yourself. You don't need me to point it out. When you go out to dinner or go to lunch or whatever, are you sitting there going, oh, man, there's police. And these police, I can't go there. Why would you not want to go there? Why would you not want to go into an establishment if you saw cops hanging out? Because you may have a warrant? You may not supposed to be there? You're worried about getting picked up? You ever ride with somebody and they go, oh, there's a cop behind me. And they start freaking out. I'm like, what? There's a cop behind you. What are you worried about? Man, I'm not sure if I paid that ticket. You only think that way if you've done something. And you're looking around, man, this cop's coming. The cop might come over here. So that you're telling the world that the people in your city who are, operating cafes and stuff, they're terrified because they're not supposed to be there. They're concerned that a law enforcement officer might come in and say, hey, you look like this person. You look like them. So now here's a bigger question I have. If ICE knew these guys were at that house, means they had some sort of paperwork on them. Did the police in Minneapolis not know that there are roving criminals hanging out down the street? Did they not have that information? And then you think to yourself, how many people are they just looking the other way? These are violent criminals. They tried to beat up a cop with a snow shovel. Thank God that's all they had.
Imagine if schools shut down and suddenly parents got to figure out what to do for daycare.
Same question. Why would the school shut down? I tell you, when I get off of here and I start heading home, and sometimes it's like 4 o'clock where I have to drive home, and there's like 18 schools between here and there, and I got to snake around and find like which route to take because there's so many parents lined up to pick up their kids. What parents don't want to go pick up their kids? Have you ever known another parent in your life? I can't go pick up my kids. Why? There's cops there. That's where I want cops. If there's any place in the town where I want a concentration of police officers, it's where the kids are. That is the stupidest thing. They're not even going to school because they're afraid. That's BS. It's complete BS. Every single one of you who's a parent or grandparent knows, no, that's where I want the cops. That and church. Make sure the cops are at the school and the church. That's my most prized possession. Guard all of that, surround it. And you're telling me you know people who, I don't want to drop my kids off at school. That's complete BS.
This is not creating safety. It's certainly not creating safety when a huge percentage of the shootings that have taken place so far this year in Minneapolis have been by ICE. So let's be very clear. I've seen conduct from ICE that is disgusting and is intolerable. If it were your city, it would be unacceptable there too.
What about these guys? What about these guys? I don't know. Maybe I'm abnormal.
And for anyone that is taking the bait tonight, stop. That is not helpful. Go home. We cannot counter Donald Trump's chaos with our own brand of chaos. And I have seen thousands of people throughout our city peacefully protesting. For those that have peacefully protested, I applaud you. For those...
I'm not one of those people on television, you know, those body language people. Look at that cop. Look at the chief of police while the mayor's talking about peaceful protesters. Just a couple of minutes after he said unlawful assembly. Does that guy look like he wants to be listening to this crap, or does he look like he could be in a Southwest Airlines commercial? You want to get away? Because that's not, that is body language to the 10th degree. Well, I can't believe this idiot is saying this stuff. I wonder if I can get a job someplace else. That's not looking confident. That's looking like you're lying. Maybe you should have had him next to you. Maybe you should have had the guy doing the sign language. Maybe that might have been a little bit more distracting so people aren't looking at the chief of police going, dude, wake up, dude. He didn't look happy.
Those that are taking the bait, you are not helping, and you are not helping the undocumented immigrants in our city. You are not helping the people that call this place home. ICE can leave, and this massive deployment can come to an end. We have filed litigation to hopefully make it so.
Did you watch that? He raised his head for a second, and it went right back down. It went right back down. He's not comfortable being there anymore. I don't know what happened. He started off the conversation completely different, unlawful assembly, assault, but he started telling the truth. And as this guy's talking, he doesn't want to be there. I mean, we've all seen that head bow. Your wife is yelling at you. Your boss is yelling at you. You can't leave. No, he can't leave, but you got to take it. But you don't want to be there. Mm-mm.
And at the same time, I'm deeply concerned that we don't have that kind of time. This is already the second shooting that we've had in a week. People are scared. The atmosphere is tense. But again, there is another option. We can stop going down this route together. We'll open it to any questions.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. You want to take my question? What's wrong with him? Huh? He don't look happy. What's wrong with him? Before, he was the first one up there and he was, ready to, run through a wall. Right now, he's kind of pissed off that those curtains are there because it's slow him down on his getaway. That is not a happy chief of police. Not because a crime took place. I think this guy has had it.
See, there are rumors that were circulating on social media that a pregnant woman and possibly a 12-year-old boy were involved in this. Is that true or not true at all?
So there were reports initially that there was more than one person shot. That is not true. There is one person that's been shot. It is a non-life-threatening injury, and they have been transported to the hospital. The remainder of the residents has been cleared. We did have one call of, I believe, a woman having an anxiety attack in the basement of the same residence.
White liberal woman. Sorry.
Same building, but to my understanding, no one else has been transported to the hospital.
No children involved in this?
To my understanding, no.
Has said that two other people came out of an apartment and started attacking the officer with shovels, and that the original person that they were looking for also did that. What has your investigation told you so far?
All right, this is pretty interesting. Now I want you to shift your look at the mayor. As the chief of police tells this woman, surprisingly, the truth.
So the question was that people had come out of the residence and attacked federal law enforcement with shovels. The understanding that we have at this time is that this incident began on 94. The individual drove towards the residence, had some sort of accident outside the residence, ran towards the house, and got into a struggle with federal law enforcement. I believe there's a broom and like a snow shovel that's on the scene. And yes, I have heard information that that some individual, at least one person, may have assaulted federal law enforcement. Yes.
See, that's different. That's completely different than how he usually is. Usually he's like, no, it was the ICE guys doing stuff. And he came out clean. Yeah, they ran away from him. They crashed the car. They ran inside the building. They came back out with snow shovels and broomsticks. Thank God that's all they had. Thank God that's all they had was snow shovels. And he just told the truth. Fry, everything the mayor has said completely doesn't make any sense now.
I am not aware if that's the same person who was shot or if that's someone else.
Will MPD be doing its own investigation of what happened?
The question was, will MPD be doing an investigation of what happened? I requested the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Investigation, Criminal Apprehension to respond, and they are on scene.
We're saying that there was unlawful protesting that happened tonight. Can you be a little bit more specific?
The question was about unlawful protesting. It has absolutely become an unlawful assembly.
See, this press conference happened late last night. Not a lot of people saw it. But he just basically destroyed the mayor and the governor. I just want you to go out there and have peaceful protests. And he just said, no, it wasn't. It was unlawful. He must have said it 3 or 4 times now. And the mayor doesn't look happy with the fact, here, let's pause it. The mayor doesn't look happy with the fact that he just blew his whole game right there. So to me, this cop is done. He is like, I am not going down with this ship. You and Timmy can go out there and exchange tampons, but I am not gonna go down with this. You're beating cops with snow shovels and sticks, and I'm pretty sure this guy knows, damn, this could have been worse. This could have been a lot worse. Can you imagine if they ran in there and grabbed weapons and came out and started blasting? He knows right now, this has got to a point where I can't cover for you guys.
There are individuals throwing fireworks at police officers, individuals throwing ice, rocks, other projectiles at police officers. It is well past the line, and people need to leave.
What kind of communication, if any, of you had with federal law enforcement tonight?
The question was communication with federal law enforcement tonight. That communication was all on the scene. It was primarily related to trying to ensure that we were getting medical aid because we had a report of a shooting, and then also to try and ensure that we could maintain the integrity of the crime scene so that there could be an investigation into what occurred.
Do you know what the condition of the person shot is? And we're also told that agent was injured and taken to the hospital. Do you have any updates on either condition?
I have no updates on either condition. It's my understanding that this is a non-life-threatening gunshot wound.
And you talk about anything you know about that initial stop that started on 94, that initial chase, if you will, and anything you know about the person that they were following.
So I know nothing about the person that they were following. And then the rest of the question was about the initial chase. It's my understanding that we have some other 911 call indicating that someone from the house was calling, saying that the person in the car was running from ICE. I was driving towards the residence. That's my understanding.
Could Mayor Fry respond to criticism that local officials are contributing to rising rhetoric and
right back to head down? Right back to I can't face these people. I can't let them see I can't do this anymore. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I'm looking at his body language. Notice how much eye contact he's had with the mayor, like this much. I can't even look at you, you piece of crap over there. You absolute soy boy piece of crap. And now I'm supposed to support you while law enforcement officers are getting beat with sticks and shovels. That's what that man is thinking right now.
That's part of the reason why we're seen as DHS as just protesters behaving in this sort of way.
What rhetoric? So the question was, can I respond to rhetoric? What rhetoric?
DHS says that there's rhetoric from local officials that they say has just kind of taken up the temperature of everything that's going on in Minneapolis.
So the question was, there has been the accusation that local officials have perhaps taken up the temperature in Minneapolis. First, I'll say, show me a single place where I have encouraged anything other than peace. Show me a single place where we have encouraged violence. I have said from the get-go to people in Minneapolis, do not take the bait. We are better than that. I have encouraged peaceful protest, and I'll say it again. I am
I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but by now, this far into this conference, you're seeing a rather large, imposing man who can't even lift his head. Can't even look at. I can't even look. I can't even face these people. That's not the look I want from my chief of police. I want my big, burly, muscular alpha chief of police to stand strong and defiant. I want my chief of police to let everybody know everything is being said. We got this. Instead, we get this. He knows. You guys can come up with your own opinion, but I've never seen, especially a man like that big guy, just completely look emasculated.
Fired by the tens of thousands of people who have, in fact, peacefully protested and fairly documented with transparency what is taking place. That is allowed in any city in the country. And I have made it clear that to the extent people are going beyond that, and those protests are not peaceful, and the violence that the chief mentioned, it's got to stop, and you got to go home.
2 more questions.
If this situation is not sustainable, as you said a few minutes ago, where do you go from here? What options do you as mayor have from this point forward?
Yeah. So just yesterday or the day before, I'm losing track of the days here, Minneapolis, along with St. Paul and the Attorney General's office at the state, filed a lawsuit. That lawsuit outlined the duress that our city is presently experiencing and how making people safe in our city is made all the more difficult based on the presence of ICE. We are hopeful that we will succeed ultimately in that lawsuit. Of course, my concern is that yet another shooting will take place. Yet another person will be injured or killed. This is not a new concern. The chief and I have been...
Wait. Did he just say another innocent person? I didn't catch that the first time. Did he just say another innocent person? Tell me he just didn't say that. Hold on.
Of course, my concern is that yet another shooting will take place. Yet another person will be injured or killed.
Okay.
This is not a new concern. The chief and I have been laying this concern out for well over a month at this point. This is not sustainable. Our officers, they are working tirelessly. Again, we have about 600 officers. There's about 3,000 ICE agents in border control. We need our officers responding to the basic day-to-day 911 calls.
I've never seen anybody stand like that throughout the entirety of a press conference. Even the defiant one in Philadelphia, the DEI hire who was talking about, you don't want this smoke. I've never seen anybody just look so submissive, so beat. Any body language expert who was reading this would be like, that guy ain't with you anymore. There is definitely a dent in their armor. It's falling apart from the inside. That is telling me they're in trouble.
Don't have the capacity to both deal with that and all of this conduct that we're seeing from ICE on the daily basis. And, earlier today and yesterday, I was out on a couple of major commercial corridors in our city. People are scared. There's basic rights that you should have to be able to live safely in your neighborhood, to be able to go downstairs and head to the cafe or the flower shop. The people that would normally keep up these shops, American citizens, by the way, many of them, are terrified. Because
I need you to bring some of those American citizens that are terrified up to a podium and tell us why American citizens are terrified. I just would like to know. I would like to see my own eyes somebody saying, I'm terrified and I'm an American. Because it doesn't make any sense. Nobody would be terrified. I'm going in to conduct commerce. I'm going in, I'm taking out a credit card, I'm bringing out money. The transaction I'm about to do, I love the idea I can do it completely safe. Nobody's going to pop me over the head. What business person doesn't want their consumers to be safe? It goes against every aspect of business. Nobody even on the gas station we go to. The cops hang out there all the time. We know they go at the donut shop. There's always cops in certain businesses. Like I mentioned, the football stadium. Now we know in churches, schools. We are in an age where cops are everywhere, and it makes people feel safer. I would love to know the type of people you have in your neighborhood who are allergic to police officers. There's not a single grocery store, jewelry store, gas station. If there's a cop position or just hanging out, I go, oh, can't go there. There's police there. Oh, we got to lock the doors. Got to kick everybody out. There's police hanging out here. He doesn't realize he's giving a national speech on television, and every single one of you, and probably most of the people who watched it last night, are like, who are these people? Who are these people that are afraid? Oh, that's right. They're the ones with warrants and stuff. Doesn't make sense to anybody else. Nobody does it make sense to.
American citizens are getting picked up off the street by people in masks. That's not the way things should be conducted in any city in America. That's not who we are. That's not America. So I'm calling for peace. Everybody has a role in achieving that peace. And we're going to try to do everything that we can to keep it.
Can go in touch with Governor Walz this evening if someone what does he have to say?
Yes, our office, yes, is in touch with the governor's office, as we've been for the last week here. He has been an excellent partner in both ensuring that we have additional resources through the Minnesota State Patrol, through the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, and that work will be done in partnership.
Am I wrong? I haven't been able to take a look at all the comments that come in, but am I exaggerating that this guy just looking like a complete beat down person? Is it just me seeing this, or you guys? Let me know in the chat what you're thinking. When you're seeing that, what are you thinking? That doesn't look like someone who at all wants to be there.
Thanks, everybody.
But the same.
I saw that, and I just could not imagine what was going on in his mind, what he was thinking, and whew, man, that's crazy. Then the Democrats, again, to prove they have nothing to respond to, this is all they want to do.
Meantime, there is another doctrine. It's called qualified immunity, and that's a special Supreme Court created precedent which says that Renee Good's family, for example, cannot sue the ICE agent who murdered Renee Good. And that doctrine is something which must be repealed.
All right, so How would you have any police officers in any city, even in a good city? How would you have police officers if you took the qualified immunity away? In the course of them doing their job, you're saying you want anybody anywhere to be able to sue a police officer. Good luck with that. There's a reason they have qualified immunity. It's because sometimes, yeah, they do make mistakes, but you don't want these people sued into oblivion. If a cop does something wrong, you can still arrest them and put them in jail, but qualified immunity stops you from doing lawsuits and suing this person and taking their houses and everything else.
Renee Good's family has a right to make that ICE officer accountable for what they did to their family. And that's why Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and I have introduced legislation to repeal qualified immunity, which is what that's called, for state, local, and federal law enforcement officers.
Do you know what that would do? Oh, yeah, they know. They know what it would do. It would destroy the police industry. You're going to sue me for doing my job. You want to be able to do anything at any time, even if it's frivolous. Imagine you don't like the way a cop looked at you at the light or something. You know, he was being racial. He was being sexist. Whatever. You file a lawsuit that costs you $50. That poor guy, that poor woman has to defend it, has to do all that. Can you imagine? These people want complete anarchy. They don't want police officers. They want complete anarchy. They're close to it in Minnesota, but they want it in your neighborhood. They want, as he just said, state, local, and federal, all of them. We want to be able to sue any cop, anywhere, anytime, for anything. These people could never be in power ever again.
Good morning. And emotions are high here in New Jersey after an ICE raid here at this laundromat and surrounding businesses in Morristown on Sunday led to anti-ICE protests and really controversy here locally. New Jersey Democrat Governor Phil Murphy is now weighing whether or not he's going to sign 3 anti-ICE bills that were passed by the Democrat-controlled state legislature. Now, the bill...
Okay. So New Jersey, with the new governor they have there, Murphy's leaving, and they got this bill that says we're going to prohibit state and local police from stopping anyone based upon their immigration status. So if these guys showed up and the cops recognized them because there's warrants, no, you can't. It's only because they're not supposed to be here. Otherwise, they haven't done anything. And New Jersey's like, yep, nope, we can't arrest them, can't do anything.
Legally prohibit police from stopping anyone based solely on immigration status. Prohibits ICE from operating in New Jersey's jails to deport criminals. And prevents New Jersey from sharing personal data with ICE without a warrant. Now, Governor Murphy has until noon Tuesday when his term ends to sign these bills. And
I hope they sign them, personally. Because that would make even more people want to leave. Between Madami in New York and this stupid law in New Jersey, you'd start seeing this place become a ghost town. All the people who can leave would leave. All the other people, they'd be screwed. Unreal how they protect criminals. Unreal how they don't want these people. They don't want these people to be problems or for you to have a problem with them. Deal with it.
It seems like what President Trump posted today about invoking the Insurrection Act seems to be the way this is going, and that's the way it will end. And just to invoke the Insurrection Act, he just has to make a determination that is impractical to enforce federal law because of the obstructionist activities. And I think that's apparent just by the reporting you just had. And you have people like Tim Walz, the irony of him saying they don't want chaos when he is seemingly doing everything he can to sow chaos, to cause division, to encourage people to subvert ICE in their mission. It's really shameful, but I think we're going down the road of the Insurrection Act because Governor Walz is not going to step up to his responsibility and get his streets safe so ICE can do their job. And remember, ICE is enacting the laws passed by Congress.
It's coming. It's absolutely coming. So I don't know if you saw in the clip beforehand, the woman that got dragged out of her car, she's the one that got hogtied. She's the one that the pictures are all surrounding in terms of seeing her hogtied and be carried away. That was her. And so I want you to get ready for the Insurrection Act. I want you to really understand what may be coming, because the left is going to go apoplectic. They're going to go crazy. Listen to this short clip. I think this next clip is pretty short. Let me see if this is the one.
So when somebody says,
oh yeah, this is the one. So a police buddy sent me this. I want you to be very, very attentive to what this was. This is in Justice Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing, way back when Kavanaugh was being confirmed. And Lindsey Graham is asking him some questions. And at the time, many of us who watched were like, why the hell would he be asking him these questions? Now, with everything you're seeing, with everything you've seen for the last, 6 or 7 months with these people going absolutely ballistic, listen very closely to what Lindsey asks him and what Kavanaugh responds. And then as you hear what Lindsey asks him, and what Kavanaugh responds with, see if you can see the parallel with what probably is coming.
Post 9/11, that we've been at war, and it's called the war on terrorism. Do you generally agree with that concept?
I do, Senator, because Congress passed the authorization for use of military force, which is still in effect, and that was passed, of course, on September 14th, 2001, 3 days later.
Let's talk about the law in war. Is there a body of law called the law of armed conflict?
There is such a body, Senator.
Is there a body of law that's called basic criminal law?
Yes, Senator.
Are there differences between those two bodies of law?
Yes, Senator.
From an American citizen's point of view, do your constitutional rights follow you? If you're in Paris, does the Fourth Amendment protect you as an American from your own government?
From your own government, yes.
Okay. So, if you're in Afghanistan, do your constitutional rights protect you against your own government?
If you're an American in Afghanistan, you have constitutional rights as against the U.S. government.
Is there a long-standing...
That's long settled law.
Isn't there also a long-settled law that it goes back to the Eisentrager case? I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, Johnson versus Eisentrager.
Right. That American citizens who collaborate with the enemy have considered enemy combatants.
They can be. They can be. They're sometimes criminally prosecuted, sometimes treated in the military.
Well, let's talk about...
Catch that? Enemy combatant can be, and sometimes they're treated with a military tribunal. If you saw yesterday, President Trump, remember everybody said those 6 prosecutors walked off the job. And President Trump was almost, I don't care. What did he do? What did President Trump do as those guys and ladies walked off the job and said they weren't going to work there anymore? How did he replace them? I'll show you in a second.
Can be. I think
under Supreme Court precedent.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a Supreme Court decision that said that American citizens who collaborated with Nazi saboteurs were tried by the military. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I think a couple of them were executed.
Yeah.
So if anybody doubts, there's a long-standing history in this country that your constitutional rights follow you wherever you go, but you don't have a constitutional right to turn on your own government and collaborate with the enemy of the nation. You'll be treated differently.
Not sure if you saw this, but as you're listening to this, put this in the back of your mind. The Pentagon is dispatching dozens of military lawyers to Minneapolis amid immigration crackdown. President Trump has stacked so many breadcrumbs that sometimes we don't even know where he's going with something. And this thing came out, was it yesterday? I have it. Yesterday I posted this January 14th at 11:47. And it was amazing. Pentagon is going to dispatch dozens, not just 4 or 5 to make up from the guys who quit, dozens of military lawyers to Minneapolis amid the immigration crackdown. So why would he be putting military lawyers into Minnesota? And then this morning, my buddy sent me this.
What's the name of the case, if you can recall, that reaffirmed the concept that you could hold one of our own as an enemy combatant if they were engaged in terrorist activities in Afghanistan? Are you familiar with that case?
Yeah, Hamdi.
Okay. So the bottom line is, I want every American citizen to know you have constitutional rights, but you do not have a constitutional right to collaborate with the enemy. There's a body of law well developed long before 9/11 that understood the difference between basic criminal law and the law of armed conflict.
This is nuts. These people don't even know what is about to happen. If this is indeed, and remember, Kavanaugh was appointed by President Trump. 2018, he got confirmed is what this was going on. So they had this conversation way back during his confirmation hearing, and many of us who saw it, we were all looking about the keg parties and the woman who said she was, and nobody really paid attention to this because it didn't seem to make any sense. What the hell is, what's Lindsay talking about? And then yesterday, all this time later, they said, yeah, we're going to drop in military lawyers. And I'm thinking Tom Cruise, A Few Good Men, which also had to do with Gitmo. What is happening? I don't know. I'm putting this out here. I don't have the answer, but I want you to think.
You understand those differences?
I do understand that there are different bodies of law, of course, Senator.
This is bigger than many of us can even put our hands on, and you know where we're going with certain things. Maybe perhaps that's why some of the things Pam Bondi hasn't arrested certain people yet. Maybe this is going to be military tribunals. Maybe this is how they're going to go. I don't know. But that exchange basically just told us, yeah, there's 2 sets of laws. Many of us knew that, but we didn't know how it would ever apply. And so if you're an enemy combatant, are these people enemy combatants? Well, now we know they've stolen federal documents. They're attacking federal employees, federal law enforcement. Yeah, that makes you an enemy. And you're definitely combative. So maybe you might be getting a first-class ticket to Gitmo. I don't know. But what I do know, what I am 100% confident, and by now I'm going to ask you that same question, is this what you voted for? See, the Democrats think this isn't what we voted for. And I don't mean to say everybody here, but I saw the poll, and 100% of you said, yeah, I'm ready for the Insurrection Act. And what I found funny is it wasn't 100% before. Now it's 98. It wasn't 100%. So some people switched their votes and went, yeah, I'm ready for it. The left doesn't realize this is what we want.
Well, look, I think if you're a conservative, you probably knee-jerk things to say, it's just a bunch of crazy liberals doing crazy liberal stuff. But if you actually read what they are describing as going on, nobody voted for this in either party. It's pretty shocking stuff. ICE officers are just supposed to, target people who got a reasonable suspicion of not being in the country properly and then figure out what's going on. They're not supposed to be running up in schools. They're not supposed to be invading houses of worship, throwing people to the ground, attacking, ramming the cars of U.S. citizens. I mean, if you look at the stuff that they're doing, this is really above and beyond what anybody would expect from any law enforcement agency. And then the other thing is, the government can't just do any daggum thing. There's something called arbitrary and capricious. The courts can step in. If this is not arbitrary and capricious government behavior, then the term doesn't make any sense and doesn't mean anything at all. So I think that if what's in this lawsuit is remotely true, 10% true, people in both political parties would say, yeah, you know what, the court should step in. This is not right.
So I'll ask you, I see a lot of you down here. People on both sides are saying, no, this isn't what I voted for. And I'm pretty sure from what I see, what you guys are saying, this is exactly what we voted for. These people completely misread everything. These people completely underestimated a guy you took a shot at. You completely underestimated a guy that you put through the ringer and arrested him and went through his wife's underwear drawer and did everything you could possibly do to demoralize him, defeat him, eliminate him. You did everything. And all I know, well, I know a lot, but what I do know is when he was running for president, he said, I'm not going to do a little bit. I'm not going to see what, maybe I can fix a few things. He stated over and over, I am going to obliterate the deep state. Exact quote. And every one of us heard him say it. I am going to obliterate the deep state. And every single one of us, hopefully you're still there. Yeah, that's what we want. And to coin a Democrat phrase, by any frickin' means necessary. See, that was your phrase. That was what you guys all said. And now it's on a different shoe. And we don't have any problem with what he's doing. In fact, most of us want more. Keep going. Because obliteration does not have a stop sign. Obliteration does not mean I think we've done enough. Obliteration means to completely destroy you. And so at this point, when you're saying, I think people on both sides, I don't know who you're talking to, maybe some panicans and black pillars, but the rest of us are like, do it all. Of all the things in his platform, all the different things I've shown you, the one thing I think most people can agree on, even the people who are pissed off about Epstein, the one thing I think people would agree on is obliterate the deep state. And it's not pretty. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to continue to be messy. It might even get a little wet, if you know what I mean. But if we're in this civil war that I think we are now in, pushing all the chips forward. Push every single one of these chips forward. Obliterate them. I'm down with that. That's why I'm here. Because I know, given the other side, if they had the opportunity, they would plan. They already told us they were planning to do it to us. So this is an all or nothing game. At this point, we got to do what we got to do to take these people down and make sure they are never in power ever again. I don't want communism. I don't want socialism. And I definitely don't want the deep state in charge. That's just me. That's just me. But that is how I feel. All right, so I'm going to get out of here. And tonight I shall have for you, by the time I tune on, probably a little bit earlier today, probably about 7, we'll have President Trump in the Oval Office with the Florida Panthers, the NHL champions, who definitely skated to where the puck was. And so I'll have that, and then we'll see what other news may pop up between now and 7 o'clock. Obliterate the one world government. I mean, we have to. We don't have a choice. We can. There's no negotiating or voting or anything with communists. They don't. You know what they will do if they get in power, and if that means that some of the Republicans have to go, then they got to go. Touch resistance, tough measures. I love Trump with ice. Yeah, and that's why I put up the poll, because I really do want everyone to be ready, because it's not going to be easy. You see, it's easy for me to walk out here and drive over to the beach and like, oh, it's fine. I think these people are going to activate everything they possibly can. They may turn lights off. They may turn off cable. They may stop poison food. Be ready. It's not going to be easy. These people are going to go absolutely nuts. Man, so let me do super chats and let you guys go, and I go feed my dogs, take them out for their afternoon walk, and we can get together again. You might want to rewind and watch that little clip of Lindsey Graham again, because it never made sense when it was happening, and I couldn't understand why it was happening, and now I kind of understand. And it was probably something Trump wanted to do in his first term, but the rhinos and stuff wouldn't let him work. Right now, I want to let him cook. Let him cook. At this point, we need somebody like that for sure. All right. Whew, I'm way offline with my window here. Pekoski, I got to send you a hat, bro. You got to let SV or one of the mods know your address. ICE in Chicago. I didn't know that. Wow, ICE is there. Bear, I think the stolen weapon and documents is a setup by ICE to that'd be very interesting. Huh. Very interesting. To lead them to the locations. Cutting edge. The night Nick Sorter managed to film his escape in Minneapolis, he also managed to film the theft of federal weapons by liberal Marxists. And tonight, I forgot to tell you, last night I had the new Nick Shirley video all set, but we ran long last night, so I'll have that for you tonight as well. Tonight we'll try to jump over to Rumble where I can show it. Who's next? Raven Kirkendall, you asked yesterday, when did people start supporting criminals? When Disney, etc., started backing the villain in newer movies and stories. Yeah, never have, well, not never. Now we see movies that are good movies. You're right. Brian Newland, I'm kind of thinking these protests are reminding me of the scandemic in its first term, to slow the economy down. Do you think these protests are trying to slow the economy down? Yes, absolutely. In case you don't know, January 20th, which is next Monday or so, they're having some sort of giant not go to work, not go to stores, not do anything, and they're hoping they'll put a dent in the economy. But most of us look around and go, y'all ain't got no money anyway. You're out in the streets. Obviously, you completely depend upon somebody paying you to protest. I don't think people are going to be worried about not going shopping. In fact, most of the country probably looking, wait, I got to eat, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, they are definitely trying to kill the economy. Mountain Goddess, to everyone, America needs you to stand up and don't be afraid to speak up against the gremlin protesters that hate America. Mm-hmm. See, let me just tell you this. Oops, I wasn't reading it. You didn't see it. Here's something else I have. It's not working. You know what I mean? It's not working. The reinforcements have not arrived. The protests have not scaled. When you look at this stuff,
take a look here. Trump's net approval rating on immigration,
doing all their crazy stuff. It's not like Iran. You're not seeing millions of people. You're not seeing anything in other cities. It's not working. They were hoping this would be like George Floyd, that they would get a whole bunch of people riled up, but most people have sense about them. And so their ability to do what they hope to do, it's not working. In fact, it's in like one neighborhood of Minneapolis. It just ain't working for them. Not at all. All right. Stop the German military going to Greenland. By the way, in addition to German military, now France has announced they're going to go to Greenland as well. Chio Shop, if that guy was pregnant, he just... Oh my goodness. Wait, can men get pregnant? Bielka, no Somalians are protesting. I noticed that. I did notice that. You know why? Because the Somalians come from Africa. It's kind of cold in Minnesota right now. And I mean, normally the brothers don't like to go out in the cold weather. So it's the wrong time for them to protest. That's one thing. Let's see here. Brad, she made the reporter look small, open to worms. It was funny, while I was talking, I've got the monitor up there, and Fox News had it on. They ran it like 3 times. That poor guy. I mean, he messed with that pregnant woman, got her pissed off, and she ate his face. Moonshadow, at my age, what to buy for short term? Not much money. I can't tell you because I can't be a financial analyst to you personally. However, start small. If I were to advise somebody in my family, which I have, and they've said the same thing, buy what you can afford and continue buying what you can afford. And what I mean by that is, in order to get where you have to get to, you have to continually fill up your gas tank. If you were going to drive from Florida to New York, you're not going to get there on one gas tank. You're going to have to keep putting gas in as you go. Somebody had told me this a long time ago. You're never getting there on one tank of gas. You just have to keep going. You keep moving. And then, so like, instead of being a couple hours, a couple days, you buy some more gas. And you wait, and then a couple days after that, you buy some more gas. Soon, you've got enough gas to get you where you want to get to. And if you look at it from that way, if you're starting from scratch and you don't have a lot of money to do things, right now, like I said, silver's at like 92, 93 right now, and that's $100. That's a lot of money for some people. But maybe you do it in bite size. I'm going to set aside 30, 40 bucks right now. Just set it aside because you're not going to be able to buy. And then set aside another 30 or 40 bucks in a week until you've got enough saved up where you can get in to something. Keep refilling the gas tank as you go. And then you're going to go farther, just like any gas tank. What's this? I can't see the name. Heather. The only people that can claim the tax on overtime are individuals that work for businesses that are in the FLSA, not the FEC. FedEx just told us we cannot claim our overtime because we belong to an FEC. Talk to an accountant. Talk to somebody who understands the new big, beautiful bill. The last person I would want telling me about my options on my pay would be the person paying me. That person I don't want to talk to. I don't want to walk into HR and can I get some advice on some investment? No. I would talk to someone who knows the big, beautiful bill and then can tell you what to tell your employer, not the employer himself. Bukowski, he's reading from a good old socialist booklet from 1918. Len, Barry, you missed it. In that speech, there was a message in it. The word order was at the beginning of each message. No, it was a horribly recorded video. And in fact, if you heard the original one, it sounded like the drive-through with Chuck E. Cheese or something. You couldn't even hear. What is he saying? I had to run it through 4 or 5 processors just to get it to sound that way. And then he deleted it. So I don't think it was like Paul's a Dead Man from the Beatles. Chiosop, Tampon Tim left out, go fight in the street so Elon and Jacob can avoid going to prison. Please risk your lives now to protect us. Exactly. Love your show, Barry. God bless. Thank you, Brad. What's it say? Ron Dog? Rot Dog. Barry, please look for an email from me regarding deltas. I believe it is significant and don't want you to miss it. All right, but you have to put your handle in your email. And by the way, I'm glad you mentioned that. Let me just tell all of you, do not send me emails with links. You can say, hey, Barry, go check out this video. The name of it is, Walk Your Dog. It's on, give me the exact title, but do not put a link in it. If you put a link in an email, it gets vaporized. It's like it never even happened. Don't put a link in an email if you're trying to get a hold of me. Can't do that. Eds, this mayor and governor of Minnesota are BSers. They are not going to have a good ending. No, they're going to jail. Redeemed Patriot. Hello. I'm more scared of peaceful protests far more than the police. Exactly. I would not want to be out there in Minneapolis dealing with those nuts. I'd rather be at the donut shop with like 6 or 7 cops. Demon of Cybertron. Chief will throw Jacob under the bus real quick. I'm feeling it. Chiosop again. Oh no, Fazul. Chief just buried Walston Frey. Made a deal. I bet you he's doing something behind the scenes. That did not look like a confident, man there. Condition based. What you're looking at is the classic sign of submission. Could be. Wayne, Barry, do you think the Dems want an insurrection? And if so, how would they benefit from it? The only way that they could benefit from it is by getting bleeding hearts to say, see how bad Trump is, but they don't understand that we want it. If there's 70 or 80 million people that voted for Trump, and if, even if we've lost some people who don't like what's going on, the overwhelming percentage of the people who voted for him want him to do what he needs to do. The only people that they're triggering are the people who don't want to vote for him anyway. So there's that. Cutting edge, I'm going to say it, these guys are lost. Georgia, this police chief is appointed to his job by the mayor and is afraid of losing his job if he voices his pleasure. Sheriffs are elected by the voters. Good point. Good point. Cutting edge. So even Somalis who are naturalized or born here can be treated as enemies. I want to rewind. And what happened, a week ago? When he's pulled back the temporary protective status of Somalis and Venezuelans. So, again, it all starts to make sense. Where'd that one go? I thought I saw some. Oh, Chiosop. Van Jones doesn't think for me. Nope, I voted for it as well. Stacy, God bless America and God bless Barry and his team. Thank you very much. Macon Blankenship came in late watching Rewind and catch you tonight. Thank you, sir. Lisa, all in one doesn't mean I'm not scared just a little bit. When you chop down a tree, you're going to grind down the stump and pull out all the roots. Yeah. I don't think people can not be afraid. I mean, I think it's something where those of us in this community and those of us in your own community, you want to look for people who think like you do and find some sort of security in that group. Did the Ayatollah threaten to kill Trump? He most assuredly did. Yes, he did. And he said, not going to miss this time. So what he's saying, were you involved in the first one? Mm-hmm. Lisa again. And by the way, they haven't stopped selling silver. I bought 4 ounces yesterday. Fantastic. No, I found out that as well. I don't know what that was that they stopped, but yeah, it's crazy. And Redeem Patriot check all your change for dates of 64 and earlier. It's 90% silver. So what she's saying there is absolutely true. In 1964, if you've got, I forget which coin, but if you've got coins that are silver, check them because they're 90% silver. So that 25-cent piece or that dime might be worth a lot more than 10 cents. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to go get some lunch. Going to hang out with the dogs, make sure that they're walked and everything. And I will catch you guys sometime tonight, probably about 7. Thank you.
Leavitt.